All right, what is going on, everybody? We are back for another Right to Real Love live show.
Yeah.
As you guys can see, today we got a full house. We are joined not only by my lovely co-host Tatiana, but we got my girl
Hey.
Krista and Natalie in the house. How are you doing tonight, ladies?
Ah,
Good. Excited to
Oh
good.
be
man,
I'm
here.
I
excited.
am
Making it through.
so. Oh, you made it through. I hear that. Yo, I hear that. Krista, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. Yes. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Finally glad to have you on here. I mean, you've been lighting us up in the chat, dropping
Yes,
so
you
many gems,
have.
and to finally have you join us on the show, I know this is gonna be
Yeah, I'm
good,
excited.
super good.
Yeah, I'm
Natalie, what
super
about
excited
you? How's your
actually.
night going?
I'm doing good. I've had a good day. I'm really excited to be here and be in this space with you all. I've watched the show a few times behind the scenes, so I'm excited to engage with you live.
Oh,
Oh man, we are so
yay.
happy to have you on here. Yo, it's gonna be good tonight. We got some really good topics lined up, and I know you guys are going to enjoy it. Tatiana, what about you? How's your night going?
It's going. I'm feeling better. I've been under the weather a little bit, but I'm bouncing back slowly but
Mhm.
surely. In
Yes,
Jesus'
yes,
name.
yo. We praying that you're gonna make a full recovery, be
Thank
healed,
you.
everything will be good. And so glad that you can still join us tonight. Appreciate that always. But
Thank
ladies,
you.
today the first thing that I want to do before we get into our icebreaker is let you guys know. Last week we had a sponsor of the show, my girl Portia, and she showed some love again this week. Like
What?
she sponsored
Aw.
another show. So like Portia is just showing
Mhm.
so much love in the background, and I am so grateful. Whether she hops on with us tonight or not, she's definitely here in spirit, y'all, because
Thank you,
she is
Portia.
sponsoring tonight's live stream again. So, Portia, just want to say thank you so much for your continued support of our live show. And if anybody else wants to sponsor or support the show, just check the little ticker at the bottom. You can figure out how to do that. But as y'all know, one of the topics that we're going to be getting into today is women giving cheaters a second chance. So we're going to kick things off with a little bit of an icebreaker around cheating. So I just want to hand this over to Tatiana. Can you introduce what type of icebreaker we're going to be diving into today?
All right, thanks, Jay. Thank you for hosting us again for this another week of some fun topics to discuss. We're going to talk about some cheating situations, and I want to know from you all if these are like legit cheating or is it in the gray area. I think some of these
Ooh.
situations could be like straight up, yeah, that's cheating, and then others could be, is it though? So we're gonna use like a traffic light stop. So you're gonna have red light, yellow light, and green light. So red light is like full stop, that's cheating. Yellow light is like, let's discuss this, and green light is like, nah, that's not cheating. That's okay.
Hmm.
Okay. All right, cool. So let's get into our first one. So the first one is dating multiple people during
Mm.
the talking stage. So we'll start with you, Krista. Is that a red light, a yellow light, or a green light? And definitely, if you're in the chat, let us know what your take is.
I feel like at the worst it's a yellow, and that's only
Mhm.
if he hasn't like said that. But if he said it, it's green
Okay.
for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Natalie, what about you?
I agree with Krista. If he is open, it's green light for me. I personally wouldn't want that necessarily, but I think that if you're upfront at the beginning, you don't have a title, you're figuring things out, and he's honest, I think that's a green light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Tatiana, what about you?
Yeah, same thing. I would say it's a green light. Only on that caveat that he spoke about it. Now, if he's dating other people, you happen to find out through your friend, but y'all just dating. Do you think that's cheating? Is that a yellow light or a red light? Like, what are your thoughts, ladies? If he
Mm.
It's
doesn't say
definitely
it,
not a red light. It's a
okay.
yellow light. Is it even a yellow? I think it depends. Like, how long have y'all been dating?
Hmm.
Like,
It's
I
a
don't
Okay.
know
yellow
if he
light.
needs to tell you that.
If you guys are exclusive yet, y'all don't have that "what are we" conversation. Then, like, you haven't established if you're going to be exclusive, but you didn't know he was dating other people until it was brought to your attention.
I feel like that would really depend on like how we're dating. Like, are we dating like where
Okay.
it's like we've talked about those kind of things and like I'm
Mhm.
looking for something more serious? Then it's a yellow, but it's definitely not cheating.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
definitely not cheating to me. But I almost want to say like it's like a green. I don't think it's anything wrong with that. I think a couple can
Mhm.
still work even if
Okay.
that does happen.
Nah,
Yeah.
That's
for
just
real.
me though.
Before I
Good
give
stuff.
y'all my answers, just want to give some shout outs. So shout out to Tiffany. So glad you joined us
Hey,
today. And she gave us
Tiffany.
her answer. Tiffany
Hey,
said it would be a
Tiffany.
green
Oh,
light.
she said
So
green.
can totally respect that. And Danielle, what's up,
Hey,
Danielle? Yo,
Danielle.
that was
She's
our
back,
interview from
y'all.
last week. And so glad for you to join us again this week. I would say for me, I think it's a green light. I don't consider dating or talking to multiple people during the talking stage as cheating. I don't view that at all. And similar to y'all point, I will say this: if you do feel some type of way about it, because I know everybody isn't a fan of dating or talking to multiple people at a time, I think the highest you can go is a yellow, and that's only if the person, as y'all mentioned, didn't tell you. Like if the person was upfront and was like, "Yo, I'm not just talking to you; I'm talking to some other people as well." Then by all means, that's green light because it's not like they're doing anything that's done in the dark.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So cool,
Mm-hmm.
man. In the
I
chat,
agree.
definitely let us know what you guys think for sure. We would love to hear it. Okay, we got somebody else in here.
Hey,
What's up,
Monique.
Monique?
Oh, that's my girl.
What's up,
Hey,
Monique?
girl.
So
Hey,
glad to have you
mommy.
join us. So Monique said, agree. To me, it's not cheating if there isn't commitment. Facts. I agree with that.
That's
And would
good.
y'all agree with the fact that if y'all just talking, there isn't any commitment at that point?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Tatiana and Natalie, like, maybe. What do y'all
Well,
think? 'Cause-
I feel like if you're just talking, and again, if you're being upfront, like,
Mhm.
cool, you're allowed to talk to whoever you want to talk to. Now, if we've had conversations and we're trying to take it more seriously, then I feel a type of way about you talking to other people. But the talking stage to me is what it is, talking.
That's real.
There's no commitment there, so you're free to move about the country, if you will. That
Oh,
doesn't mean like sleep around. That means just like getting to know
no,
someone to
no.
see if you want to like date them exclusively. Yeah, and then set the parameters of what that relationship looks like for you all.
That's real. That's
Yeah,
real.
you know what? Now that you said sleeping around, okay, so if you're sleeping with other women, I feel like that's a bit much. Like you sleeping with multiple other women and you talking to me,
Interesting.
that's low key.
That's another level there,
That might
Krista.
for me that might be a red.
It is a red. What are you doing?
That's
Are you gonna try to
foul.
kiss
It's like,
me with those lips?
and
better than other
you would
people?
know that, right? And
So
you know
as
that,
long as
like
long
those
as he's not
conversations have come up, so you know where I stand.
got you. So as long as he's not having sex with other women during this phase while he's talking to you, it's yellow at the most or green. But if he's having sex with these
Yeah,
other women while he's talking to you, then that's red light. Are y'all all in consensus about that?
Mhm.
that's messed up. Yeah.
And I
Maybe
would
it's a
say,
yellow. It's like a
No,
yellow red.
so let me ask, what if
It's,
he going back to what you guys said before, what about if he told you he is doing that?
full stop.
oh,
Red
Because
light.
then,
I
because
wouldn't.
then
Red light.
Yeah.
doesn't that put it on
I
you, right?
can't. I
Because then you can
can't.
just be like, yo, I don't want to rock with no guy that's out there having sex with other women while he's talking to me. So
That's
like you can't really
Oh
put it
yeah.
off on him if you want to move forward knowing that he's doing that, right?
In the talking stage,
I
you're
wouldn't move
collecting.
forward.
Yeah, in that talking stage, you're collecting data too. So you're trying to figure out who that person is, and if they express to you that they're sleeping with other people, that's what is that showing you? Like in your mind, you have to come to the conclusion that okay, this person is doing this. How do I know that this habit is going to change for the better if we get into a relationship? Where's the evidence that he has self control or that he will be faithful in a relationship with me?
That's real. That's
Yeah.
real. Natalie, what's your
100%.
take? You feel the same way?
I do. I agree. For me, the red light, green light, it all stops there. I'm withdrawing myself. So I don't even need to
Yeah,
know
there you go.
anything else.
That's real.
I agree.
So Tiffany says it is still unless he has made me believe he is talking to me exclusively. So does that mean it's still a green light even if he's having sex with other women, Tiffany? Because that'd be interesting if that's what you mean. I would love to hear more. And then Danielle says most men won't volunteer that information. You would absolutely have to ask him. I agree because that was going to be my question: is are you asking him that question directly? Right? I feel like most men, as she said, are not gonna just volunteer the information. Like, yeah, like I'm talking to you, I'm having sex with Brittany, and like me and Keisha, we've been hooking up too a little bit. Most men are not gonna say that. Like, if
Me and
you ask
Tatiana's
them,
face is like,
right? Because like most
Ooh-wee.
men are not saying that stuff. And
Mhm.
hold on, Tiffany says, I mean, it's still a green light. Okay, what's the unless? Like you leaving us with the cliffhangers, Tiffany.
We're on the edge of our seats.
Yeah,
And
I'm
then
waiting to hear that unless.
I
and,
think I agree with her though. I think it is a green light, but it's a red flag for me. Does that make sense? Like it's a green light to the general public, but for
I
Krista,
agree.
it's like I'm good because it's
that
not
makes sense.
wrong. It's just for me,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
technically he can do that, but does that work for you
Yeah.
and your personal like morals or standards? Like, yeah.
No.
Right.
And
Natalie,
that reminds
something you
me
want to add?
too.
Mhm.
Oh, go ahead, Natalie.
No, take it away. I was just in full agreement, clapping my hands.
That also reminds me of the show The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, where they are dating all these people and they're kissing on all these
Yeah.
people. Let's throw kissing in there, not sex, but full on kissing. Like, oh, this person is kissing other people. You're aware of that. Is that a yellow light to you? Is that a red light to you? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
What y'all think?
That's a
Because I got a
green
good
light.
question in here from Danielle. I'm gonna wait
It's-
though.
Oh, I
Go
think
ahead.
that's still a green light. It's just, I think it's just like, I don't know. Like I've gotten to the point in my walk where like kisses are kind of valuable, but I can understand how you can still be like an avid Christian and like you'll just kiss. Like it's not that deep to you. So I think that could be okay.
Okay.
I agree with you, Krista. I think kisses are valuable as well. I know that's not the case for everyone. I think for me, I think to the general, it is a green light. For me, it's a yellow light just because I feel like it kind of signals to me like, okay, maybe I'm not as special to you, especially if this is someone that I'm really interested in, like I'm really enjoying their time. Even if I know they're talking to other people because we're still just talking, if they're out here kissing other people, it makes me feel like, okay, maybe he's not as interested in me as I am in him. Because if I'm super interested in someone, I'm not going to be out here having my lips on 3 other guys as well. So for me, it'd be a yellow light.
That makes sense.
Nah, that's real. That's real. So Danielle threw us a curveball. She said, "We talking about Christian men or just men in general?" Then she goes on to say, "Because you ain't gonna be talking about covering me in prayer and thoughting too."
This must be the sex.
Not the thoughting.
This must be the sex part.
Oh man, yeah, gotta be right, because that couldn't be like just the kissing, right? Y'all don't consider that thoughting.
Right.
Oh, what's up, my man Simba in the
No.
building? What's up? Simba says, "Red light for me now. When I was 21, green as a cucumber."
Okay, yes, he's
So
grown.
Simba, is it the kissing or is it the sex that's the red light for you? Because I'm curious to know.
And why has it changed from then to now?
Okay, yeah, she got a good follow-up question too. Well, what do y'all think? Like, does a man being a Christian versus not being a Christian, does that matter how you navigate the situation?
I mean, me personally, I'm not gonna date a man that's not a Christian, so I don't really have those
Same
issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same for me. If you're not a Christian, that just closes the conversation for me. And I feel like it does change. We're going to have different morals and values. So if you're not a Christian, you're going to be living your life to a different standard. That's on you. You're welcome to do that. But for me, your standards aren't going to match mine. So
Yeah.
Respect.
1000%. Yeah.
Yo, that's good. So while we waiting for some of those to come in, let's throw up our next one. So the next one is flirting with another woman on social media, email, or text. Red, green, or yellow? What do you say, Natalie?
Ooh. So how do we define flirting? Is it like you're saying someone else looks good? Is this someone you know, you don't know? I get touchy.
I don't know. You can go ahead and add those details to it if you want to. I left it kind of general, but those are good. Those are interesting ways to look at it.
I don't know. For me, I get a little bit touchy with flirting. Like, I feel like if this is your close friend or just a girl that you've been friends with for a while, she's doing something amazing. You're like, oh, you look amazing at this business event or something like that. I might not be too upset about that, but when we enter into waters of you talking to people you don't know, or I don't know, being overly friendly, if we're together, I do feel a way about that. If we're not together, I don't know. It's your life. I'm just taking notes.
Respect.
So is that a red light or is it yellow to you? No.
It's yellow approaching red. We're like in orange territory.
Yeah, I would say the
she
same
brought a whole new
thing.
color in the mix.
Yeah. Pull
I
that
bet
orange
that.
flag out. Yeah, I feel like that
So
too.
Danielle says that's definitely yellow for her, and the reason why is because it's a gateway drug, right? And
That's
I
very
think
true.
right, because think about it. What let's say, he hit her with the like, he hit her with the little comment or whatever, and let's say she slide back in his DMs like, "Oh, you like what you saw?" There you go. Like, I mean, your man went from just hitting the like button, just leaving a comment, to now she's choosing. And y'all know what we said about that last week. I mean, now all of that falls on your man, whether or not he's gonna be like, "Oh, nah, shorty, I just like the picture. I ain't really like you."
Ooh,
You see that? That's
Yeah.
kinda,
that's how it goes.
what's your thoughts, Kristen?
I'm like one of those people who like I low-key need to think about stuff before I make a definitive statement. But since we don't have time, I think it's yellow. I probably would give it a yellow because I feel like some people are just naturally flirty. Like I literally had a guy friend. My friend Monique, she's in the chat. She knows exactly who he is. He's just like the flirtiest guy. And like he was not checking for me like that. And I was shocked that he wasn't. But like he wasn't. So I feel like some people are just like that. And I don't necessarily think that's wrong. I also feel like if you like a picture or like put like some hearts under an eye, I don't know if I necessarily think that that's like super, super bad. I think it's not the best, but I don't think it's like insane.
Respect. Yeah, Monique is co-signing what you said. So then,
hey girl,
Tiffany says, it will matter if he isn't a Christian because I wouldn't want to put him in a situation where he's tempted. Okay. And then with regards to this, she says, in her presence, it's a red, but otherwise it's a yellow. So if he's not, I guess, texting or, flirting with her on social media, in her presence, it'll just be the yellow.
I'm like really thinking about this because I feel like if I see like a gorgeous, stunning waiter or something and I'm on a date, I might catch myself being like, "Ooh, Krista, get it together," So,
yeah,
I don't think that means that I'm not ready to be a wife or like, like a girlfriend. I don't know. That's a tough one.
No, that's fair. Danielle says because it's crossed over to disrespect in our presence. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Going back to Tiffany's comment. Yeah. It is disrespectful. So my man Simba says both kissing and sex. I'm dating for a wife and mother of my kids now. I'm a lot more selective now. Being intimate people won't work for me, nor would I do it now. That's real.
Yeah. Wait, Simba, how old are you?
Thank you, Simba, for sharing your truth. Thank you, Simba, for sharing that.
Nah, that's real though. That's real. Hold on. So Simba says, ain't nothing wrong with checking out the menu if you're not ordering. Okay, so I'm sure that's in reference to like the
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Like I said, it's all good. It's all fun and games until that woman starts choosing, because then that man puts himself in a predicament. So that's where I kind of say I'm in agreement with what Danielle said. I feel like it can kind of be a gateway drug / you kind of on some dangerous territory, because as a man, if we're talking about a woman who doesn't, let's say it's not like a like a thirst trap picture, and it's just a regular picture, right? And it's not a bunch of people in the comments all on her line, and this guy leaves a comment, he likes the picture and she like him.
Now that's unacceptable.
Now, hold on, say that again.
I kind of agree with
that's unacceptable. What are you doing?
Right.
Like if no one has commented on the photo, I'm thinking this is like a baddie from the internet. Like that's
so that matters. So it matters whether or not there's a gang of comments versus not.
Well, interesting.
If that girl is completely attained, that is foul to me. Like, are you serious?
So like that's
bro. On some
like there's someone they might know through mutual friends, like they know of that person, not some celebrity person or something.
That might have me like, I think we need to break up.
Different if he knows her, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if this is just a girl that he follow on Instagram, but like she's not like some.
But she's completely accessible.
Yeah.
No.
I guess
that's
for
crazy.
Me, and it'd be hard to know this, but it's like, what's the motive? Is your motive
what is the motive?
Come on. Is it to encourage her? Because I don't think that's your job.
Yes.
If this is a thirst trapping type of picture, or is it to see if you have a shot?
Oh
Hey,
no,
that's real.
yeah,
That's real.
no,
Those are the questions that come up. All right, so that was a good one, y'all. Here's the second
that
one.
was a good one.
Becoming emotionally involved with another woman.
Like a
Tatiana,
man did
red
that.
light, green light, or yellow?
To me, that would be red light because I feel like if they're getting their emotional fill from that person and not from me, their partner, their wife, then I would feel some kind of way about it. I would feel like it's getting too involved with that person, and emotions can open up doors to other things. So I wouldn't want to see that happen in my relationship.
Okay, that's real.
Yeah.
Before we go to the next person, want to give a huge shout out to Tanisha.
Hey,
Hey,
Appreciate you
Tanisha.
joining us
Tanisha.
tonight. Always a pleasure. So Monique
Hey,
says
girl.
that that's going to be a red light
Mhm.
for her, the emotional
Yeah,
involvement. What's your take on
that's
that,
completely
Natalie?
foul.
That's very much a red flag for me. If we are
All right.
dating, like exclusively dating, yeah, you could still have friends of the opposite sex, in my opinion, but I think that there should be boundaries in how much you're opening up emotionally.
All right. All right. Before we
Hmm.
come to you,
Hmm.
Krista, Tiffany says it's red. Tanisha says that connecting emotionally is definitely a red flag. And shout out to Cynthia. So glad for you joining us tonight.
Hey,
We
Hey,
definitely do
Cynthia.
enjoy the
Cynthia.
stream. So happy to have you here. Yes. So coming to you, Krista, is it red, yellow, or green if your man is emotionally involved with
That's
another woman?
that's like dark red. Like that's like we're not together
Ooh.
anymore. That's foul. Like we're like I feel like emotionally connecting with another woman
Right.
is that's almost might be more hurtful than physical cheating in my opinion. Like
Mm. Yo,
yeah,
that's fair.
that's
That's
pretty.
fair.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I think emotional. If I knew that my woman was emotionally involved with another man, yeah, that's definitely a hard stop right there.
Yeah.
Moving
That's
on,
wrong.
our next one: becoming best friends with another woman. Coming to you, Natalie. He's
Oh
best friends
gosh.
with another woman. Red, yellow, green.
So he's already best friends, or after a relationship, he becomes best friends?
Nah, I think he's become best friends with her after the fact.
Hmm.
That's a red flag. Because to me, that goes back to the emotional stuff in the last
Really?
question. Like, I feel like to consider somebody a best friend, you have to tap into certain spaces and conversations and areas of the heart. Friendship is one thing. Best friends, that's a red flag for me,
That's
or a
real.
red
That's
light for
real.
me.
Okay.
Got somebody else joining us in the chat. Shout out to Tashi B Fitness. So glad
Tasha
you're here. And they
B.
said
Hey,
Hey.
hey,
huge
Tosh.
red light.
Look,
And
Hey.
Tanisha says, no new friends, red light.
I hear that, Tanisha. No new friends, especially like if you guys are dating with the intention to marry, you have some work to do in terms of getting to know each other, building that friendship. What you doing? Building a new friendship with somebody else. Make it make sense for me.
And she bestie too now. She not just friend, like she the whole bestie now.
Yeah, no, we're not doing no new best friends up in here.
Tiffany says, yes, I agree with Natalie. That is a huge red light. Monique says that she agrees as well. What's your take, Krista?
I why do I feel like the oddball? I don't know if I think that's a red flag. I think it's either green or yellow. I think it
Okay.
depends on the person. I've dated a guy where he really genuinely had female friends. Like I don't know, he just connected with them. But he told me like if need be, I could cut these friends off. So I feel like if you have that type of vibe, I think that is okay. I don't know. I think it depends on the guy. I really
Okay.
do. That's really subjective.
That's fair. So Cynthia says, red light. Why do you need to spend time with another woman? And I think that's a
I'm
very
really
legitimate point.
shocked.
That's a very legitimate point. All right. Ladies,
I am really
yes,
surprised at
no?
these red lights.
Well,
Like I,
Krista, are you
yeah.
thinking of it from he already had best friends, or are you thinking of it from the perspective of he's becoming best friends with someone after you started dating?
No, I'm thinking of it like he had like a coworker where it's like that is just the homie. That doesn't sound, and they like just become closer and closer. That doesn't sound crazy to me. I don't know
So,
though.
okay, so let's throw it at you this way.
Okay.
He didn't even know this woman before he was with you. He met her
Mhm.
later, and now she's his whole best friend. It's not like somebody that he knew before you, and now their friendship just grew, and now they view each other as besties.
There's just so many contingencies with this. I would need to know, what does she look like? Is she real cute? Because that matters.
Wow.
Is she if she looks good to him, then I might have a problem with that. But I think, yeah, I feel like if he's like a physically attracted to her, and if she has a crush on him, then absolutely not. But I think if they really just come off platonic, I don't know. I don't see a problem with that.
My man Simba is saying what I'm thinking. How much do looks have to do with it, right? Like, I mean, like, this is a whole woman that came in his life after you, and she's now his whole best friend. Mm-hmm. Like, that's major right there. But here's what Danielle had to say. She said, I absolutely agree. Friendship is work, so you shouldn't be putting work nowhere else, because this right here is full-time and overtime. I have to agree with her whole.
This is fascinating.
Right? Like, why are you investing in that? What I tell y'all ladies, like last week and the week before, with men, it's about the level of time that's being invested. If he has been able to develop a whole best friend type friendship with another woman, I promise you, you're not trending upward in this equation. You're not trending upward. I promise you that. If I'm investing enough time with a whole new woman, she my whole best friend now.
You might get replaced.
That does not bear well.
But you could get replaced, and that is a risk. I don't know if I would be in this scenario, but I feel like if my friend told me she was dating a guy and his best friend, he's becoming best friends with his girl from work, I don't think I would think, girl, you need to let that go. I don't think I would say that.
Work, he's seeing her every day too. They growing stronger and stronger with every 8-hour shift. They just coming even closer together. Like, do you even see him for 8 hours? Like,
but
you are totally in the competition now.
I've had like work male besties.
Oh man, we gonna Tatiana, you gave me that. That was one topic. Of them. We gonna have to talk about this whole work husband and wife thing. And I think we're going to invite Krista back on to have that conversation for sure. Because I think you got an opinion on that I want to hear. So Monique says, red light for having new friends. People who already in their life is fine. Okay, that's fair. So then Danielle said, she said, what does she look like? Yeah, she did say that. Yeah. Even Tiffany want to know, why does her looks matter?
That does matter. It matters. If she is so cute and he's like, man, she look good. I'm thinking she look good. No.
He would never admit that she looks good. Some dudes.
But I probably would know his type. Like I would be like, I can kind of tell. And then if she looked like that, yeah, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Okay. So Cynthia says, yes, Danielle. And then Tiffany says, I agree with you, Danielle. True. And yeah, Simba says looks matter for most guys. Right. That's
Thanks,
real.
Simba.
And then
so like, why are you best friends with this person? Was the initial attraction there, and now you want to be besties with them? Like,
oh, absolutely not. Now that's crazy.
Yeah. So Tanisha says, she's laughing, Krista. She says, men are visual, so I agree. Her last ex had a good female friend from college. They were strictly platonic, and they did not talk every single day. She was like a sister to him. See, I told y'all though, a sister is different from a best friend. Like if a man's calling a woman his sister, like he don't view her like that. Like best friend, beware, because like you hear people all the time talking about they want to marry their best friend.
Yeah, like sister is never gonna happen. Best friend, there's potential still.
Right. Say that again.
Sorry, Jay. If it's a sister, it's not gonna happen with them. But if it's a best friend, let him find out that one of her walls is down. He's coming, especially if there's some friction in his current relationship. What did Usher say? You gonna make me leave the one I'm with to start a new relationship? Not every guy is like that, thankfully, but I wouldn't. Yeah,
I think he would have to say, "I'm willing to cut this friendship off for you." That's important.
Yeah.
I think
follow up with the actions. Follow up with those actions.
Natalie, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say, even for me, even with the sister thing, even if there's no blood there, I still feel like you both have to establish boundaries, because you just never know. Like the right place at the right time, you can start developing feelings. So even like I have a best friend from high school that's a guy, and like when I've been talking to other people, like there are just certain boundaries in the things that I'll share with him when I'm talking versus when I'm not, out of respect. Yeah. And I would want the guy that I'm with to do the same, even if like it's someone super close to him that he's known for forever.
Nah, that's real. That's real.
Yes,
So we got some
absolutely.
additional comments in the chat. Danielle says, sometimes guys get close with God bless the child looking face women because they give them support that they aren't getting from
Oh
their
my
fine
gosh.
wives
I
at
am
home. Yo,
screaming.
Danielle, God bless the child.
Dang.
Now God bless the child.
That my mouth was open.
Oh man. Okay, so Tiffany want to know. So unattractive friends are okay. I think that's to you, Kristen.
Yeah, Krista, we need to answer, Krista.
That would make me feel a little bit better, but I still would have to watch it regardless. But if and it's not even that they're unattractive, it's just that they're not his type. You know what I mean? Like there's a
Okay.
difference.
Okay.
So
So Simba says, I used to tell them they are like a sister to me. And yo, so like, is that the ones that have no chance, or the ones that you had in your back pocket, like you might be friends with her still? Give us a little bit more details on that, because I think he's talking about the women that he wouldn't like pursue further, and I think that kind of confirms what we were talking about, which is if a man is referring to you as his sister when y'all not blood related, that's typically a sign that he's not trying to take it there with that woman. So Danielle says, "No, Tiffany, looks don't matter. Men smash the unfortunate too. Don't let nobody fool you." And that is facts. That is, yo, she's coming for the MVP 2 weeks in a row. I promise you.
Well,
oh my gosh.
Yo, but she's dropping facts though. Tiffany says, yes, you can go from friend to romantic partner. Most definitely. Most
right.
definitely.
Yeah.
And she says, Danielle, you are right. Keep it real. Yeah, she's definitely doing that. She's definitely doing that. All right, so this has been fun, y'all. Fun little
Yes.
icebreaker. Oh, okay. I guess I'll throw this last one up, but I think this is a no-brainer. We should get through it quick. Having sexual contact with another woman.
Yeah. Full on red light.
Everybody
That's
agree
right.
here. That's like a full-on red light. I think
That's what Krista said, that dark red.
Mhm.
We almost
Dark
black
red.
at this point.
Yes.
that's how you bringing out that burgundy for that one,
That burgundy.
Right.
or that crimson. All right, so I think everybody would agree that that's a full stop. The only reason I will stop and take us back is if somebody says that that's a yellow or a green light. If I don't see somebody saying having sexual contact is a green or a yellow, then we will move right on ahead into our first topic for the night. So once again, want to give a huge shout out to tonight's sponsor of the show, my girl Portia. Thank you so much for supporting and sponsoring our show. If you guys want to support and show love for the show as well, you can see it in the ticker below. The information on how you can do that, you'll get a shout out and you'll be a sponsor for a future show. But with that being said, y'all, let's get into tonight's first topic of the night. Why women give second chances to cheaters. Now, this is a topic that came up based on the whole Tristan Thompson and Khloe Kardashian little drama that's popping. So I'm gonna hand this over to Krista, our resident expert on this topic, to kind of put us on what's going on with the two of them.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to give my best, synopsis of what happened. So basically, to my understanding, okay, Khloe and Tristan were broken up, but they were together when he would have conceived a child with the woman, and he told her, "I'm going to give you $75,000," and he asked her to get an abortion, and he told her that he's gonna be retired, so he's gonna be unemployed, so that's gonna be better than like the checks that she would get if she keeps the child. And basically it just came out like Khloe was super hurt and she's upset, and I just don't understand because there's been so much drama between them two in general. So I feel like she shouldn't be shocked at all.
And for those who aren't familiar with their story, like Tristan is a serial cheater, unfortunately. He cheated on his previous baby mom before with Khloe. And then when Khloe was pregnant with their child together, he was cheating on her too, and he got caught on camera talking to other girls in the club, like it's real suspect. So it's just a number of things. So usually every time we see him in the news, it's for something bad related to this relationship stuff, unfortunately.
It's so bad.
Yeah. And shout out to Ebony joining us again this week. Glad to have you here.
Hey,
she says, hey, there are
Ebony.
serial cheaters. That is Tristan. And that's what y'all just said.
He's serial in the book next to the definition, yes.
Serial cheater. Yeah, his face is definitely right there in the book for sure. So with that being said, I just want to get just the lay of the room from each of you ladies. Simple question, yes or no. Have you ever been cheated on by a guy in the past? So let's start with you, Tatiana.
Um, I don't think I have full out cheating, but I definitely knew that someone was talking. My boyfriend at the time was talking to someone behind my back because I knew I had something was going on there. Because the same month that we broke up, he said, "Oh, I'm not gonna date anyone else." You know, he's giving the woo woo woo. Later that month, I see him on a date with another woman. I was like, mm. So not only did he lie about that, but he was out with a woman that same month. So like, you just don't move on from a relationship within a month like that. You was probably talking to her or establishing a friendship while we
Right.
were in a relationship. So I if we want to count that, that might count. That's more of a yellowish to me. But
Okay.
I think that's the only one I can remember.
All right, that's fair. What about you, Krista?
Um, so I haven't been in many serious relationships. I'll say that, but like I know there was one where he most likely was cheating on me, but that was like we had so many other issues that the cheating was just like an additional issue. And I've also had I've had multiple guys that that like we had broken up and we were like, you know, you kind of do that like, well, we might be getting back together, and then I found out they were talking to someone else. Like that's happened like multiple times. So I don't think that's cheating, but I feel like it's misleading.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. What about you, Natalie?
I have not been cheated on to my knowledge, but
Yes,
I'm
thank
also
God.
like Krista, like I have not been in a lot of serious relationships. So
That's
That's
fair.
okay.
That's fair. Ladies in the chat, definitely let us know. Have you ever been cheated on before? And I just want to get y'all thoughts. So, is cheating for each of you, is that like a relationship ender? Like if you find out that your man or your husband cheated on you, is that like the end of it? You know, you're calling it quits? What's your take on that, Natalie?
oh gosh. I if you had asked me this question a year ago, it would have been yes, absolutely, we're done,
Mhm.
pack it up. I think now it depends on one, did you confess to me yourself? How
Mm-hmm.
quickly did you confess? And what is
Yeah.
your commitment to changing behavior? If
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any of those things, if I find out from a friend or from somebody else, if it's weeks or months after the fact I'm hearing about this, and if you just want to go back to your regular ways, I'm out. Like it's a very hard stop for me. But if those three things, if there's some level of give and take there, I might consider it.
Nah, that's fair. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So we did have some ladies in the chat say that they did experience it, Monique and Tiffany. So by all means, if you ladies are comfortable sharing your experience, definitely let us know. And actually, I just remembered Tiffany sent me an email about her experience. So after I get Tatiana and Krista's answers to this question, I'm gonna read the email that Tiffany sent over. She did give me permission to share it, and then we can kind of dive into that a little bit. And I'm definitely going to come to that question that you dropped in the chat, Danielle, because that's a good one. So,
Mhm.
Krista, what's your take? Is it a relationship ender?
I, I I used to be like how Natalie said, like I used to be like, oh my gosh, yeah, like we're done. I think if we're dating, I think that's pretty much done. Unless he does, I don't know what he could do to make up for that. But I think, yeah, dating, I think that's pretty much done. In a marriage, I've seen it happen and people mend from it enough to think that it might be something that I would try. I can't make any promises that I would be like out. I mean that it will work, but I would at least try. I would try. Whereas in dating, I don't think I would try. I think I'd be like, no, this isn't for me. So,
That's fair. That's fair. Can I throw a curveball at you?
sure.
What if it's your fiance?
Ooh.
See, my fiance, I don't. Ooh, now you've embarrassed me also because if it like because that would piss me off because I don't know like, and I don't handle being embarrassed well because like boyfriend, we could break up, nobody got to know. Even the husband, nobody got to know. But now, like my friends see a ring, that is so rude. I don't. That would have. He'd have to really do a lot. Like we
Yeah.
wouldn't get married for years after that.
Yo, that's fair.
Like,
That's fair. Tatiana,
yeah.
what's your take?
Um, yeah, this is the topic like tender to my heart because like I have on both sides of my family relationships and marriages that are broken up because of infidelity or cheating. So that'd be pretty hard for me to take on. It'd be like triggering as well as it would be hard for me to deal with. Is there forgiveness? Yes. Do I want to take you back? That's a big question mark. I mean,
Right.
to what Natalie was saying, like, I'm gonna need some repentance. I'm gonna need some change in order for this to happen.
Yes.
But it's kind of rough. It would be very hard because when you cheat on someone, you're breaking the trust with that person, and not everybody can bounce back from something like that. So for me, I would it would be kind of hard to bounce back from that. I would definitely say that.
Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yo, we got some good stuff popping up in the chat. I promise you, Danielle, Monique, I'm gonna come back to y'all comments, but first, let me read this email that I got from Tiffany. It's not a super long one. So she says, Jay, I'm thankful that you are addressing this topic because I don't want other. Oh, hold on, no. Let me pause. I forgot. This goes to our second topic about over spiritualizing dating.
Oh,
So,
okay.
okay, I'll pause that. Let
Hmm.
me go back up to Danielle's
This
comment. So I'll wait. I'll hold off on that. Danielle says, what if they cheat with porn, meaning they rather spend time watching porn than spending time with you?
uh-uh.
Does that count because she has a
The
girl
devil's a
going through
lie.
it? Ladies, what's your
Mm-mm.
take on that?
If you don't get your behind in some counseling, sir, we're not about to do that. No, I don't
That's
think
real.
so. I don't like that. That's kind of like you're taking the easy way out. Like you're just
Mm,
going out to satisfy your flesh. Like, no, we are one, we are a unit. So you need to fight for this and we need to do the work. So you can't just try to seek your satisfaction somewhere else. That's, come on.
no, that's
Yeah.
real. What do you say, Natalie?
Yeah.
I completely agree with you, Tatiana. I almost even feel like these are separate issues. Like I know that they are combined, but I just feel like if
Yeah.
porn is something that you're comfortable with and it's something that you're continuing to go to in a relationship or not in a relationship, you need to deal with that before we can continue moving forward because you're not bringing that into our union.
Right.
Y'all dropping gems. Krista, what's your take
I
on it?
think I think if you have a porn addiction, yeah, I agree with Natalie. Like that's a separate issue. I don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily think that
Yeah.
I don't necessarily see that as cheating. I see that as you need to get your porn issue under control. Otherwise, I definitely couldn't marry you. Never.
That's real. That's real. Great question again, Danielle. Let's see. So the next one, thought I saw something coming from Monique. Oh, yeah, right here. So Monique says, relationship probably depending on what Natalie mentioned is how I found out. And if they're sincerely wanting to change, marriage, I would stay and try to work it out, do counseling or boundaries. No, that's fair. That's fair. And Tiffany says, I agree with Krista. That is an embarrassment for everyone to see. I would take serious couples counseling. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. That's
Mm-hmm.
disrespectful.
It is. It is. Danielle says, I don't know. Being Christian, this celibacy thing is a beast. So I have a lot more grace in this walk than I used to because it's hard out here. I'm going to say if we've been celibate for 1+ years, I may be willing to work it out. And I think she make a good point, right? Because a lot of people try to make it seem like the whole celibate or abstinent walk is easy for people. And
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not. It's not. Like,
Yeah,
we are all
absolutely.
naturally sexually inclined beings. And trying to refrain from something that comes natural is extremely difficult. And I think that she makes a
Hmm.
good point. Clearly, nobody wants their man or their woman to step out on them. But I think there does have to be a little bit of grace in the case of, you dealing with somebody that is trying to practice abstinence or practicing a celibate lifestyle if they do step out. I totally understand if somebody's like, yo, that's a hard stop for them and it's a wrap. But I think that there's also some grace too, because you never know where that person is in trying to curb, that desire. And, like we talked about before, if the right opportunity presents itself at the right time, a person may slip up and, do something that maybe they wouldn't have been doing if the two of those people were, engaging intimately in that manner. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
I think
So,
for me, that would depend on how you entered into that relationship.
okay.
If I entered into it abstinent, he's abstinent already, then that to me, that's absolutely not. But I think if he entered into it and he's like, you know what, I believe that this is what I should be doing. I've never done it before. And you're kind of like his little experiment bunny, then I could understand that a little bit more with the appetite. But it's like, I don't know. I get it more, but yeah, if y'all both are abstinent, no, absolutely not.
So you're saying that it should be easy because the man has been practicing abstinence longer?
I think because I feel like you hear a lot where you see couples where one became abstinent because they wanted to be with the other one. Mm-hmm. I feel like if it was a situation like that, I can understand how you could be like, I didn't realize what I was getting myself into, and I had a weak moment. I can understand that a little bit more, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. I think the point that Danielle was making, and the point that I'm making too, is that it's difficult regardless of whether or not the person just started or whether or not the person has been on this abstinent journey for a while. It's difficult. It's not like just because you put in a certain amount of time, those desires have gone away. Like, nah, you still have to consistently work at it. And I will concede to the fact that somebody that just started may not have as many tools in their toolbox to try to, refrain from engaging in that type of behavior. But somebody that has been doing it, that doesn't mean that there isn't the possibility that you catch them in the right circumstances. If their desire, their temptation is high, that they wouldn't find themselves in the same situation. So
I get it. I get that. Mm-hmm. But I don't. Okay. Because it's like, ooh, sorry.
Hold on. Let's hear what Natalie had to say. I want to hear what she got to say.
Well, and I don't know if this is to your point, Krista, but I think where I still feel a little bit of pause with that mentality is like, I feel like, yes, celibacy and abstinence, it's very hard, but it's like you didn't slip up with me, you slipped up with somebody else. And I'm not saying this is right, but I almost would rather have us slip up. Again, not saying that's right, but it's like, if it's one thing, it's like, ooh, we got caught up in a weak moment. How did you get caught up with someone you're not in a relationship with?
Where were you doing with them?
Yes. That's think
fair.
What bothers me.
That's fair. And I think that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. If you hanging around that bestie or he hanging around that, he hanging around that sister, and one thing leads to another. But I'm not co-signing the behavior. Let me be clear. I'm not co-signing the behavior. I'm just pointing out the fact that it's hard, whether a person is new to abstinence or celibacy or whether somebody has been on that journey for a while. It doesn't take away the difficulty of trying to curb a natural instinct, right? It's just like when a person is starting off on a healthy eating or a weight loss journey. It's difficult to give up those foods that you have been so accustomed to eating. So that's like saying, do we judge the person that has been on this healthy eating thing for a longer period of time because they ate the junk food versus somebody that just started? Like, no, I mean, they both ate the junk food. The question is whether or not are you going to continue doing that, or are you going to say, you know what, I messed up, I need to get right back on track? How you deal with it?
I would understand this better.
Yeah.
Okay. I would understand this better if it wasn't cheating. I think if you like if you had like a weak moment sexually, but it's like you messing up twice. Like that's where it's like I don't know.
Nah, that's fair. That's fair. And let me get a chat some love, because I see we got a lot of stuff popping. So
it's popping.
So, okay, I think I read that one already. Yep, did. All right. So Cynthia says, yes, I've been cheated on. We were together for 3 years and he cheated for a good amount of that time. I don't think I can deal with that again. Yeah. And you shouldn't have to deal with that again. Nobody should. Not at all. Tiffany says, yes, that is serious and counseling would be needed. Think she's referring to, the pornography thing. Ebony says, I have seen women stay and try to work things out, but the partner was not willing to repent. There would have to be true repentance. I agree. And we talked about that. It's not just saying it like, yo, I won't do it again, but like you literally have to put some action to those words as well to make right that wrong that you actually committed against your wife in this instance. And Ebony says porn is it's a very real addiction, and that is cheating. So she believes that is cheating. And that's fair. I mean, I think some people do view it as such, for sure.
I can see it.
Cynthia says, I can see that, Danielle. It depends on who that person really is. That's real. Tiffany says, I agree with your point, Ebony. Yep. Oh, what's up? The show sponsor is in the building. What's up? Hey, Portia, so glad to have you join us tonight.
Portia.
Yes.
Thank you,
always
girl.
Shout out. We appreciate your support. So glad you could join us. Definitely chime in and let us know your thoughts on tonight's topics as well. Monique says, agree with Natalie. Yep, Natalie was dropping some gems for sure. Danielle says, but if he think he's going to lose your respect by slipping up, he has more to lose than he would with a stranger. Ooh, like, what do y'all think about that?
For me, you
Just
don't
don't need to
have
be
more to
together.
lose with a
Hold on, say that
stranger.
again, Natalie. Can you say it a little bit louder?
For me, there's not more to lose with a stranger. Like, I
Okay.
feel like if we mess up, that's a conversation we'll have together. If you
Mhm.
mess up with someone else, you've lost more, in my opinion, because you
Okay.
stepped outside the bounds of our relationship.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
that's
the
fair.
principle of it, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Natalie.
Yeah,
I think slipping up
exactly.
with your partner is way better than slipping up with a complete stranger or
A
your
stranger?
bestie or, your quote unquote sister. Yeah. Like any woman outside of your partner, your fiance, your girlfriend, whatever she may be. Like, yeah, I think that does hold a little bit more weight to it. So Tiffany says, Cynthia,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to stay in a long-term relationship with a serial cheater either. Nah, no way, no how. What's
Right.
up? We got
Yeah.
another Danielle in the building. What's up, Danielle?
Hey,
She says,
Hey, Dan.
Danielle.
yes, this is a definite deal breaker. I wouldn't give a second chance only because that issue is something that would still be in the back of her mind. And that right there is a key point. Women don't forget. Like, like let's be real. Like women, y'all don't forget. Y'all don't forget. So like if he slip up, at some point it's coming back up. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
coming back up. It could be 12 years later. Like you remember that one time when we were celibate before we got together and you slipped up and you messed around with that one chick and I still married you. See, you ain't appreciate me in this moment. That's real disrespectful. That's embarrassing, right, Krista?
That's rough.
No,
So
that's
nah, that's
that's
dope.
that's tough. That's tough. I've had conversations like that before, like where it's like if you accept someone back, you have to move on, which is so hard.
Yeah,
Like,
moving on is different from forgetting, though, right? That's the whole
It's
forgive but not forget thing,
well,
right?
right. Will you ever
I
forget
think you have
though?
you
Not
have to, like,
likely.
I feel like if you choose to be with a cheater, someone who cheated on you in the past, not a cheater,
Mhm.
you have to you have to accept the fact that they did that, and you can't consistently bring it up. It's gonna
Right.
just
That's
make
not fair
issues
to them.
worse. It's
Mm-hmm.
not fair to them. It's honestly not fair to you either.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
it's
completely
that's
agree with that. I
Because you're
feel like
living in.
forgetting isn't fair. Sorry, Tatiana.
Go ahead.
I was just going to
Nah,
say, I
good.
feel like you keep bringing it up. That's not fair to your partner. Like if you've,
Mhm.
chosen to forgive and move on, then you need to forgive and move on. And of course, you're not going to forget, but I think you throwing it back up in their face is not fair because you could have left if you
mm-hmm,
wanted to.
Yeah.
So now that you've chosen to
mm-hmm.
stay, you've
Yeah.
chosen to stay, past included.
Nah,
Yeah, that's
I
a
hear
good
Mm-hmm.
y'all.
that's
That's
a good
I
tough.
hear
point.
y'all. And you know what they say. It's not about whether it's fair. It's
Easier said
about
than
whether
done.
or not it will happen. And trust me, I'm sure that there are a lot of men that can attest that they woman wasn't trying to bring it up, but depending on something that happened, it came back up. And that's the only point that I'm making is that she's never gonna forget. And if you slip up enough, it may resurface. That's all I'm saying. But no,
Yeah.
okay, what's up,
Yeah,
Natasha?
Hey,
you
Natasha's
have
in the
to be okay.
Natasha.
building. No, what's up,
Hey.
Krista? No, Krista, you were saying
Oh
something?
no, I was just saying like you have to be. I think it's a give and take. Like the guy, or the I'm assuming it's the guy that cheated. He would have to be okay occasionally saying, "I'm so sorry" for the 200th time, you know. But I also feel like you can't let that live forever. Like that's really
Sure,
not
bro.
fair. It's you gotta. I don't know. That's tough. That's why you just shouldn't cheat.
That
Facts.
part, like you're
That
making it
part
more
right there. That's real.
complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Can I add
Ebony
something real
says,
quick, Jay?
yeah, what's
Real
up?
quick. I will say that there's some things that people are more grace for than others in when it comes to relationships. There's we could that's a whole nother topic in itself, but some people are graced to handle someone who has cheated before or cheated on
Yes,
them. Like
Mhm.
there's even
absolutely.
ministries dedicated to couples who need to recover from cheating because let's face it, things happen. Humans are going to human. And on top of that, the
I like
devil does
that.
not like marriage. So he's going to throw any kind of
Come on.
temptation at at your situation, right? So if your partner was to cheat and they're repenting and they don't want to go back to that, they don't want to do that anymore, or it was a one-time thing that happened, one-time offense, you all can bounce back from that. But again, it depends if you're graced for that. Because again, not
Mm-hmm.
everybody's going to take it the same way. Some people are like, nope, this is off, it's over. Some people are like, we can work through this and God can get the glory out of this still. So there's still that too. I know couples who have gone through that. God bless them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it, but God bless them.
Nah, that's real. So yo, the chat is lighting up. So let me get some love to the chat. So Ebony says the key is we are inclined to quote unquote struggle with monogamy, but we don't act on it. That is where accountability comes in for men and women. I agree.
Yeah,
Danielle says sex, from what I understand, when it comes to men, can be solely an act, but mature men are strategic about that act because he knows that he could lose you rather than not cross that line. So he rather not cross that line. No, that's real. That's real. That's a good point. Danielle says, I would forgive so I can heal for myself, but I don't know about another chance. That's real talk.
That's fair.
Natasha says, drop my like from Canada. What's up? Shout out to Canada. Yo, that's what I'm talking about, baby. Yes. Portia says, celibacy is extremely hard and you have to be committed to stay in it. Slipping up with anyone outside the relationship is unacceptable. Yeah. I think she's echoing what you lady said, and that's real. Danielle says, but why would he think slipping up with you would be an option if you were holding fast to the celibacy vow that you agreed upon? I don't think most men would even try to chance slipping up with a woman that he wants to be serious about. And I think I understand all of the perspectives that have been out there.
I understand them too.
I think I lean a little bit more towards what Danielle is saying, just because what she had mentioned before about men, we think more strategically, right? And you got something to lose. Like, this is my whole point. The cheating didn't come because he planned it, right? Like, that's the whole point. He didn't plan it. Like, it wasn't like it was something that he planned. I was pointing out the fact that it was something that just kind of happened. And to him, most men that's trying to practice celibacy, you don't want to like have to deal with the fact that not only did you and your girl slip up, but now, you don't know what that means to her, like how that would impact her spiritually, psychologically, as far as like that vow that she made, one, before God, and then secondly, to herself, and then third, to your relationship. Versus if it's a woman that he slept with and she not holding no celibacy vow, really all he has to be concerned with is his relationship with God, his relationship with himself, and then his relationship with you. But I totally understand all the points and the perspectives that you guys met. And I don't want to kind of beat it up too much. So Monique said, I agree with Krista. Bringing things up from the past consistently is not healthy. That's facts. Tiffany says, yes, slipping up with your partner is acceptable because we are attracted to each other. We in the struggle together, but sleeping with someone else violates our commitment. That's fair.
Interesting. Yeah.
And Portia says, throwing it back up in their face after you chose to stay will make you bitter and angry. I feel like if you're unable to move forward and extend grace, then remove yourself from the situation. That's real talk.
Yes.
You gotta protect your peace.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, Jay. Yeah, I get you. I get you, Danielle. I get you wholeheartedly. And what I would say is that this is why it's important.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important for couples to not just say, oh, we're both celibate or we're both abstaining. But you got to really dive deep into that too, because there's a lot of assumptions that can be made about what that looks like, what those expectations are. And we just see that tonight. And this wasn't even none that was prepared.
Yes.
We can see that some people are like, yo, if we both celibate, I'm more likely to, forgive it if I slip up with you versus you slipping up and, breaking the celibacy thing with somebody else. So having an understanding in that relationship is vitally important.
That's what I was going to say. Good. It's like a moral compass. Like there's like a moral difference. Like, yeah, that's what I think the difference is.
That's real. So before we push, anybody want to share their last takeaways or any last thoughts on this topic? No? All right. Well, I got a question for y'all before we jump. I want to know, starting with Natalie, why do you think some women give men second chances that cheat on them?
Well, I think that it depends. I think there's a difference in the woman that accepts a man back if he has changed his behavior versus a woman that just accepts a man back because she just does. Kind of like Chloe, like you guys were saying. Tristan is known to be a serial cheater. She got with him after cheating. He cheated on her during the relationship, close to their first kid. He cheated on her again. I feel like in that situation, personally, I think that it's a lack of value that somebody has for themselves. I think that they don't see themselves as worthy of better. And if I could just speak to Chloe's situation quickly, like, I mean, she was with Lamar before she was with Tristan, and it's reported that Lamar cheated multiple times in their relationship. And just Chloe in general, I feel like she's always been known as the less attractive sister. Like, people have called her the ugly one, the fat one, like the less interesting one, all of these different things, none of which I believe to be true, but that's what she's kind of been penned amongst the Kardashians. She is. I feel like when you're not rooted in something different and you're not grounded in who you are, regardless of what other people say, it's hard not to buy into that and just accept what life gives you. And I feel like sometimes you see that with people that return to cheaters, where it's known that they cheat and they haven't made any changes. They don't believe that they deserve or are worthy of something better. So they'll tolerate the less than the standard, or maybe they just don't want to be alone.
Yeah, come on, girl. That was good. That was good.
So before we come over to Tatiana, I just want to point out, Ebony was saying that's what happened with Pastor John Gray. He slipped twice. That was really hard for her to understand.
And let's not even start on them.
Danielle said, good point, Ebony. And you said, although he denied slipping up. So, yeah.
That was so complicated.
That was a mess. I don't think they handled that well.
We really appreciate it.
Definitely. Dang. Bye, Simba.
And Cynthia says, Natalie, you are 100% on point. Most definitely. What is up, PK Chronicles? Yo,
hey,
so
PK
glad you
Chronicles.
joined us tonight. Yes, yes.
It's a party in the chat tonight.
Yes, man, it is. It is.
It
we got a full house. So, okay, one more before I bring it to you, Tatiana. Portia says, Chloe has an unconditional loyalty there to whatever man she's with. And sometimes that unconditional loyalty will cause you to lose yourself and forget your worth. That's fact. And that brings up the question, should you be given unconditional loyalty, one, to a man who is not your husband, or to a man in general?
No.
Look, she's choking over there. She's like, unconditional loyalty. I'm never giving that up.
Loyalty is conditional. I am not
conditional loyalty. There's no.
Yeah, unconditional loyalty is a bit much, man. That's too much. Good point. So, coming over to you, Tatiana, why do women similar to Chloe have a tendency to give second chances to cheaters?
I feel like they, to what Natalie was saying, I feel like this is our only option, where I always say on my blog that you always have options. Like, God provides a way of escape. So you don't have to stay in a situation that's no longer serving you. As I saw another YouTuber say about this situation, she'll get up from the table when she's full. At this point, she's not going to want anything different other than what she's getting. She's going to, I don't know, maybe she nags him when she finds out he cheats. Whatever her response is to him cheating, there's no incentive for him to act right? Because she's still sticking around. So until she makes that decision for herself that she's going to get up and get away from this relationship, set those boundaries, like, we're just going to co-parent, because clearly you do not know how to be a good mate in a relationship. So she got to make that decision, because he's not going to make the decision for them. She has to make it for herself, you know? So that's what I would tell her and anyone else in a situation like that.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with a serial cheater, I'm going to just be honest, like, the writing is on the wall. Like, the likelihood of that person letting their cheating ways go, come on now. Come on. Like, those
if they
odds
can
are not in
cheat
your
and
favor.
still get you, I mean, they're getting the best of both worlds.
Facts. And if they know you're willing to stay.
Come on, Jay.
It's like, why stop?
Right.
Yeah.
Portia said, I agree. You better speak on it and drop those golden nuggets, Tatiana, for sure.
Thank you,
sure.
Portia.
Krista, what's your take? Why do some women give these men who are cheaters second chances?
I think it's kind of like what Tatiana and Natalie said. Like, for serial cheaters, I really think there's like a lack of self-love. There's something heavy going on there that's promoting you, that's pushing you to stay. I think with just like cheating, and I don't even want to say serial cheating, because there's some people where it's like he's cheated before and you're not shocked if he does it again. I think that could be something like a lack of self-esteem, and a lot of times I think that has to be something. But I also feel like sometimes, like, you don't know life without that person, and it scares you so much. I've seen that, like, that I'm getting a little older, that people are just, they're so scared, you know, like the idea of being independent genuinely like frightens them, and it's easier to deal with the pain than it would be to leave and potentially mess up out there. I think that's like something that people really struggle with. But I don't know, well, since we're making, you know, celebrity references, I think an example of cheating where it's like I understand a little more is Cardi B and Offset. I get their cheating a little more because I genuinely think he loves her. You see what I'm saying? I don't think Tristan cares for Chloe at all. I think that he like, I think if Chloe left, he would be like, dang, that's too bad. But like, I think if Cardi left, he would be distraught. Like you can tell he loves her. Like, and I think I understand them a little more. I think they're more so fighting, whereas I feel like Chloe and Tristan are not fighting. It's like she's being dragged to the ground, and both situations are super toxic. But I think there's some differences there, and also I think a good example, since we're giving celebrity examples, I think if anyone watches Married to Medicine, I feel like what happened with Jackie and her husband. Oh, nobody watched the dang. The chat, come on, y'all. I think they are a good example because he cheated on her, and they genuinely, like, he never said it's your fault because you were working too much. He never said that to her. Like, she was like, I need you to stay downstairs, and he's like, I'll stay wherever you want. You know, like, you're kind of at her beck and call. Like, you kind of let her work. I think they were an example of a couple where I've seen it potentially work in terms of the media from what I've seen. So yeah.
Oh, you're not alone, Kristen.
Oh,
Danielle said, yes,
hey, girl.
Great example. So Ebony left a comment. She says, Chloe wants a man, and many women want to be in a relationship at their expense. She was planning to have a baby with another baby with him. Oh yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah. Well, that's something.
Oh my gosh.
If I can comment on that, because that's something I started thinking about as we were talking. Like Krista said, I think it's very clear that Tristan doesn't love Chloe. But I also wonder if Chloe's playing the game a little bit, because when the first cheating scandal came out, they were about to have their first kid. And the last kind of few months, they've been trying to have another kid. So I wonder for her, part of this is just, I want the same baby daddy for both of my children. He'll do, and we'll deal with the other stuff later.
I heard that.
Will he do though?
I heard that.
Like, will he do? That's the real question.
Yikes.
That's a question, yes.
Like, when all you want is their DNA, like, it's saying a lot.
Tanisha watches it too. She said, good example.
Oh, hey girl.
And Portia says, I agree with Krista. Cardi B is a different type of woman than Chloe, and their situations are different. Cardi B is married and trying to build a life and legacy with her husband. So we have that.
I will add that Cardi is very passionate about her relationship. She loves Offset. If she didn't, she would have left. Like, she threatened divorce at least twice. You know what I'm saying? So,
and she's left before. She come back a little quick, but you know, she has left. You know.
Yeah, Portia says, I don't think Cardi would not check in for cheating, but I think Offset loves her too. So there y'all go. Now, before we push,
I think so.
I want to highlight my girl Natalie. Definitely let everybody watching know about your devotional and how they can grab a copy of it.
Yes, thank you. So I have a devotional called 52 Cups of Coffee. It's a weekly devotional for believers. The way that I designed it is I wanted it to be a resource where it's like you're having a cup of coffee or cup of tea with God. So I know sometimes it can be a struggle to make sure we're getting in our word consistently. But I created this book to be filled with personal stories, but also scriptural references as an invitation for us as believers to just have a moment, have a conversation with God. So if you're interested in starting a new devotional routine in the new year, you can find it on Amazon. It's 52 Cups of Coffee by Natalie Brown. There are 2 books named 52 Cups of Coffee. So you'll see there's like some brown hands holding a cup. That one's mine. Okay. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it if you decide to get it.
Yes. Congratulations, Natalie, on your book.
Thank you.
I'm gonna definitely make sure I drop the link as well.
Thanks for the shout out.
Yes, of course. So we have a few comments from PK, and then we'll switch to our next topic. So PK says, in response to Ebony, so true. Many times women tend to live in the hope of potential and possibility, when in essence, it is rare that many people will change significantly at their core. That's facts. PK also says Chloe tends to think that due to status or even her having this quote unquote ideal body shape, she has quote unquote invested in this will keep a man. It will not.
Wow, that's another point to consider.
Men have to have already done the work, and many have not.
To what PK Chronicles is saying, it's like it's almost as if we're seeing Chloe's response to Tristan's cheating as I need to look like the women that he's cheating on me with, because he has a pattern, he has a type, and she doesn't. Her in her natural state before the enhancements didn't look like that. And so it kind of saddens me to think that that might be a theory that's real. Like she might be trying to change herself to be that ideal person. Because some people do that. Like, oh, if I just change myself, he won't cheat on me again. If I act like this, he won't leave me. If I do this more, if I act like this more, then they won't go. They won't do that to me again when there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
That's real. That's real. And Portia was shouting you out.
Thank you,
Black
Portia.
author, Natalie, Black Girl Magic. Congrats on the book. And I put a link
to
the book over there, so you can head over to Natalie's website and definitely get you guys a copy for sure. So here we go, y'all. Let's dive into our second topic for tonight, which is a good one. This is the one I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for. Spiritualizing dating is keeping Christian women single. Oh yeah, this is the one, y'all. So before we get into this, I think we have to lay some groundwork with regards to what does it mean to spiritualize dating. Anybody want to chime in and share how you define that?
When I think about that, like over spiritualizing or spiritualizing dating, is this idea that might be to the extreme of what the word may say about engaging with the opposite sex, or going off of these religious legalistic rules that may not apply to your situation in dating. Sometimes churches make up their own rules that have nothing to do with what the word says. We also have the remnants of the purity culture movement and how it kind of warped people's minds regarding sex and engaging with the opposite sex. Because there was that book that was out, I Kiss Dating Goodbye, right? Like it's so that there's all these different theories and things that people are saying, but we're making it like it has to be this super crack the sky and Jesus coming down on a cloud and literally telling you in your face that this person right here is your husband or your wife. I think some people over spiritualize it to that end where it's like they can't literally make a move without hearing from God when he lays out a lot of the stuff that we are supposed to be doing in his word already. There's plenty of stuff in there that says, I already gave you this instruction, so I just need you to live it out. And so to me, going off that, I feel like there's a layer of fear there that people need to uncover and just be honest. Like, yeah, Lord, I'm actually fearful. So I'm going to hold on to all this legalese and all this religious jargon so I can protect myself from getting hurt. But relationships are a risk, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, but I want the other ladies to chime in on this one.
Nah, good stuff. Appreciate you for sharing that, Tatiana. Natalie, how do you define spiritualizing dating?
Well, I agree with everything that Tatiana shared. I kind of think that, it's basically what you said. I think that sometimes as believers, we can create this super spiritual idea of what it means when we'll meet the one. And I think in the moments where I have struggled with this, and I'm a work in progress still, I think sometimes it's creating this idea that there's this one person and God's going to show you exactly who that person is before you meet that person so that everything is smooth sailing. And it's kind of trying to avoid the risk. Like, God will give me a digital download or a heavenly download about this person, and then I will gracefully step into it all the way to the altar.
That's good. Krista, what's your take? How do you define spiritualizing dating?
I agree with like everything that they've said so far, but I also think it's like obsessing over this soulmate conversation. I think I actually talked about that on my podcast recently. Like, that is dangerous. Like, regardless if you believe you have a soulmate or not, like obsessing over it. And like, also literally people think that they're going to have a soulmate coming and then they don't do anything, like, because he's going to come, he's going to set me right as I am. I think that's super dangerous. Whoa. But also I feel like spiritualizing dating also means that, like, oh, he tried to kiss me. Oh my God, God would never send a man like that, you know, or
Right.
like little,
Krista,
you know what I mean?
come in here.
Like little, like little things like that, where you don't let a person be human. You think that they literally should act exactly as you think in your mind, or as you feel like God has told you, which is so dangerous. And that is something that I've had to like unwire in my head. Like having male and female friends, I used to think that was really, really bad. But then I'm like, and then I got to a point where I'm like, I low-key don't know how to operate with the opposite sex. Like I'm literally uncomfortable around them because I feel like the church made me think that I'm supposed to talk to them unless it's my husband. So like, I don't know, like it's just dangerous. It's very dangerous, but it's hard to navigate. And I don't really know if there's like a right way to do it, which is what's so hard. Because some of these spiritualizing ways that we say are wrong, there's people who have had success with it. So that's what's so difficult. So
yeah, that's fair.
Those are great points, ladies. What are your thoughts, Jay?
Great definition. So to me, I think it's real simple. When I think about somebody spiritualizing dating, I think that they're either ignoring or diminishing three very, very important things: reality, logic, and practicality. I think that they are totally dismissing the fact that you have to stay in reality when you're talking about dating. You have to understand that things must be logical. You have to approach dating logically. You have to recognize the fact that there's a practical approach to what dating is. You can try to spiritualize it, but then you're just bringing a new element into something that already exists without the spiritual element. I think you can be a spiritual person engaging in dating, but the minute you try to turn dating into something spiritual is where the spiritualizing of dating happens. Because dating is something that it's real life. It's something that is logic based, and it's something that's practical. I totally understand that some people kind of take that to an extreme. And I think that that's where you get the whole spiritualizing piece coming into fruition. So that's my take on it.
That's good stuff, Jay.
I think some people can spiritualize life. Like you get saved and
No
you really
doubt.
be like, oh my gosh.
No doubt.
You know, I
That's
don't
where
know.
you
Like,
get what the
I don't
people
know.
that they
Oh
call
my
like,
gosh.
you
I
know,
woke up
super
late.
spiritual.
Yeah, they super deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got some great
I
comments,
kind of was
y'all.
teetering that at one point. Yeah, the comments
I
are
mean,
popping.
it's fair. It's fair. I think a lot of people, especially when I would say this isn't everybody's story, but most people, when they first accept a new religion or a new type of spirituality, they're usually on fire. They're zealous, as we can say. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you start to mature, you'll start to realize that, oh, I think I might be doing a little too much. I think there's a way for me to be a spiritual minded person, for me to prioritize my relationship with God, but not be extra about it. Like I think I can still move in the world practically without just, just taking people by storm. Like when you step in the building and people are like, whoa, what just happened? Like it's just like, oh man, you might be a little bit too much. And it's not that what you believe is too much. It's just your approach
come
may be a little bit
on.
aggressive.
It's the practice of it.
Yeah.
So here goes some
That was
comments
it
we
right
had
there.
in the chat.
Yes.
Oh no, say that again.
No, I just said that
Daniel,
was it. Mic drop.
Yo, I'm just saying. So Danielle says struggle love has become the norm in some relationships, and some people think they have to stay until they change. Someone violating your trust is a big price to pay for not wanting to be alone. I agree.
That is, y'all count the cost.
Yes, always. The other Danielle says men spiritualizing dating has kept her single because these men are obsessed with leading somebody somewhere when he has a hoopty and lives on his friend's couch.
That's facts. Come on, Danielle. I feel you.
Right.
That's a problem.
That's
Every man want to lead, and you ain't got nothing to be following. Like,
when we talk about spiritualizing dating, I think that with Christian women, they sometimes spiritualize like the whole sex piece, and with Christian men, there's a spiritualizing of this leadership thing, and it's like leadership and sex are two things that they operate outside the realms of your religion. So it's just like, yo, you don't have to add to it. Like, I mean, leadership is leadership and sex is sex. How you operate in those two spheres as a spiritually minded person or as a Christian or as a believer, that's what's unique to your own journey. But it's when people try to reshape the definitions of what leadership is and what sex is, that's where you get all of this clouded confusion. And what I think is what we're talking about tonight is the spiritualizing of these matters.
Oh,
But yeah,
that's good.
I definitely agree. Like, you get a lot of men,
Right.
Christian men in particular, who try to spiritualize leadership.
And
Like,
to
yo,
that,
either you a leader or you not.
Yes.
right. And to that point, Jay, it's
Come
like
on.
sometimes
Okay.
it's like sometimes people grab that one part of scripture, but they don't read the rest of it.
Facts.
You know, sometimes there are whole denominations based off of a maybe a wrong interpretation of the word. And sometimes that happens in relationships too. Like some guys would argue about women submitting to men, when the Bible talks about both partners submitting to each other as unto the Lord. So it's like, why are we ignoring this part? Why are we looking at one part and not the rest of it? How can you lead me if you're not even looking at the whole text, sir?
Facts.
Make it
And
make
Krista,
sense for me.
you know, we always
Oh
be
my
doing this for
gosh.
context, right? Yeah, you already know, and I'm not even
Yeah,
gonna go there.
yeah, we
Krista
do.
know how much I talk about context. It's huge.
Mhm.
So
That's
PK
good.
says,
That's like God will give you desires of your heart. Whatever is said before that, it's like y'all need to read the beginning. I think it's something like
Right.
submit
Come
yourself
on.
to God.
Yes.
And
And
people
read what
always
comes
do the
after it,
second
too.
part, and it's like, now wait a minute. Okay.
Listen, God's promises have something attached to it. You got to be obedient, man. A lot of it is obedience.
Yes.
PK says, is that we have misled many on what the true meaning of soulmate is. Is that biblical? What does that even mean? Like, and I think he's in referencing to the soulmate conversation, right? And I think let me just pose the question before I make an assumption. Do y'all believe soulmates is something that is biblical?
No.
Natalie, what's your take?
I don't. And I want to believe in soulmates, but I don't believe in them. I don't believe that's biblical.
Yeah. And this is the thing. I'm not knocking anybody for believing in soulmates, but to PK's point, and I think we all agree, it's not biblical. Like when you look, when you open the book, you don't see anybody talking about soulmates. And it's just so interesting because I think this is another element of spiritualizing dating and relationships. Because where do you often hear about the soulmates conversation? It's usually amongst believers. And that's something that also needs to be addressed. It's like, why are we speaking on something that isn't even biblically grounded and founded? Especially when we allow that thing to take precedent over other things that are more practical when it comes to the experiences that people are going to have. Just my take.
And also, we also obsess over the idea that God told me that's my husband. That is not in the Bible.
We're going to get there.
Much either. Okay.
We're going to get there. Yeah, we definitely get there. So Tiffany says, acting like God will drop it at your doorstep without you doing anything. Facts.
Come on, Tiffany. Facts. We got to get outside.
Right. So Ebony says, there has been a lot of talk about purity culture, kiss dating goodbye. We do good by just getting a guy to ask us on a date. Let's start there. But I do date differently, having boundaries in dating.
Let me say this. I feel like the church is failing singles in the area of, like, they're saying do this and then that's it. Like, don't date unbelievers and that's it. They're not really showing us what to look for, and that hurts a lot of singles. There's no practical stuff, like Jay was saying. There's no practical wisdom that's Bible based in operating with these men. It's like or operating with these women. It's like we just out here like, just throw out a few scriptures that relate to marriage and whoop wop the bam, you're supposed to be married with somebody you met 3 months later. Like, no.
Yes.
Where's the accountability? Where's the discipleship? Where are the mentors? Where is like marriage ministry? Where is counseling? Where is normalizing going to couples counseling? Where is this? Where is it? Where are the Titus 2 elders? They're teaching these generation now. The millennials, we're millennials all in here, I'm assuming. Yeah. But at one point we will be the elders, and at some point we need to reach out to the younger people and teach them. That is our role. Yeah. Right. And we would be doing a disservice to the next generation if we're not, giving them biblical truth about how to operate in relationships, loving themselves, what to look for in a mate, and stuff like that. Like, not just this is what the Bible says, but wisdom. God gives you wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. They are gifts. Right. Proverbs 2. That's right. He will give you, the Holy Spirit is with you. If you literally invite the Holy Spirit on your date, in your single season. He will rock with you. He doesn't want you to fail. God is not out here sitting back waiting for you to fail. Invite him in your relationship. Invite him in your dating season. We don't teach that in the church, though, for some reason. We just leave them out to the wolves.
They don't teach.
And if I can piggyback off your, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if I could piggyback off your point, Tatiana, I completely agree with you. And I feel like for women, especially, that over spiritualize dating, and like I said, I've struggled with this before. I'm a work in progress. I do think it's a deeply spiritual issue that we're dealing with when we go through those things, because I feel like you said earlier, dating is a risk. And I feel like there is an unwillingness to go through that risk that happens for women. And I know for myself, in the moments that I catch myself over spiritualizing, or when I've done that in the past, it's really an issue I have with God, not an issue I have with men, because I don't trust God enough with my heart to take the risk. And so I feel like, and so I feel like a lot of people, and especially a lot of women, when we start over spiritualizing, there really is some business we need to do with God, because it's like, I don't trust you enough with the uncertainty. And so I'm trying to control my future by having you tell me what I can expect so that I can walk through this my own way. And for me, I know I've dealt with that. We're being like, well, if God tells me this is the person, then I'm going to avoid getting hurt less, because this is who God has for me. And it doesn't work like that. You have to trust God enough that if it goes well, it goes well. And if it doesn't, God's going to help you pick up the pieces.
So good.
And so I think a lot of times we have to actually go back to God and be like, there's a disconnect that I'm experiencing with you. And I need you to help me, because it's keeping me on the sidelines and I'm trying to get wifed up.
Yes. And even
thank you, Natalie. Thank you for that.
That was and even if God did tell you and you genuinely heard it, because I feel like a lot of girls be hearing it and he didn't say that. But if you really heard it, you're still gonna go through pain. Like relationships have pain. Yeah. So it's like I think that relationships are scary, and that's real, because I feel like we've had so much hurt. Like there's been so much hurt in relationships. So you try to avoid it. It's a coping mechanism almost.
Yeah,
for sure. I'm in a singles group, and one of the ladies was talking about this good situations that she's in with someone. They're talking, everything's good. He's talking about the future, yet she feels uneasy about it. In my mind, going off of what she was saying, because she said, oh, this happened before where someone's talking to me. They were talking about a future together, and I was like, no. I asked her, I'm like, sis, are you like afraid of commitment? Because sometimes it's not the other person. Sometimes it's you. And I feel like, again, it's one of those practical things that we as singles need to figure out. Because if you find out that you're afraid of commitment and you enter the dating season prematurely, you're going to hurt people. And that's an abuse of your stewardship of your singleness and your dating season. And you also, as I think we're supposed to like guard each other's hearts. I don't know if that's in the Bible. Let me know. But if we're to, respect the person we're dating or developing a relationship with, and we got these issues that we're not willing to address, we just kind of go into it kind of preemptively, like, yo, you have to take a step back and see like, okay, I need to work on myself. I need to figure this out because I don't want to cause any more damage to someone. Right. That self-awareness is so important in the single season. You can't stress that enough.
Right. All right. So we had a lot of great comments come in. So we're going to take a pause in our conversation just to highlight some of these great chats. So the first one, Ebony says, there has been, oh no, I did that one already.
You did that one.
And then Portia says, I heard a lot about the don't kiss me. There are so many dangerous mentalities to have surrounding dating that can prevent you from building long-lasting relationships. That's real. Danielle was co-signing what Ebony said, saying that's it. PK was co-signing what Tiffany says. Yes, we abuse the scripture that a man finds. Yes, that's right.
Oh, my goodness,
I got that scripture waiting too.
Come
we
on,
abuse
Jay.
that scripture that a man finds a wife, finds a good thing out of context. What does it mean? Right. It doesn't mean that he's just going to show up and you ain't got to go out your house. You ain't got to go nowhere. You ain't got to give no choosing signals. Like, no, finding you does not just mean you ain't got to do nothing. Like that needs to be said. PK also says, I think this is where it starts, understanding and clearing up the misguidance we have had in the church around dating and partnership. Facts. These conversations are being had, and we all know that. Monique says, spiritualizing dating is believing that there is one way, but everyone is different and their love story can be different. I think we
That's
are
true.
trying to follow quote unquote rules and less trusting in God's direction. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that would be that
for
direction
sure.
for your life. Like it's going to look
Mhm.
different for everybody.
Right.
Mhm.
And Portia says, talk about that cherry picking of the scriptures. Submission works both ways.
That part.
Facts.
Come on.
Yes.
Ebony says, co-signing to PK Chronicles, I agree. We need to be careful and pray to ask God what he would want us to do, not just what we hear from others or the church in some cases. Facts. And then,
Yes.
they're giving you your props. Danielle says,
Oh,
speak on it, Toddy.
thank
Then
you,
we got
Yeah.
Danielle.
Tiffany says, no, soulmates isn't biblical because then we will have no free will.
Fascinating.
Good point. Danielle says, I think soulmate is an over exaggeration of Eve being formed from
Mm.
Adam and the two becoming one, right?
That's
And
a
the
I
good
thing
can
that
see
we
one.
that.
understand
Hmm.
I can
is
see
that
that.
the one is actually the child. It says one flesh. When two people come together, have sex, and have a child, that creates one flesh from the two people. That's just another misinterpretation that people got. I know people spiritualize it and we get it. You can be one spiritually, but it's really talking about those two people creating one flesh, which is a new child. Just to drop that gem. Tanisha says, I feel like soulmates are based on zodiac compatibility.
I can
Interesting.
see that.
That's
Mhm.
interesting right there. So Portia says, most church single ministries are struggling and don't do enough to inform, don't do workshops, etc., but have a whole bunch of bowling outings. We have to do better in the new year. That's real.
The
That's real.
shade. The
That's real.
shade.
Stephanie says the
And
church tells
I
you
love it.
the church tells you what not to do, but never demonstrates what to do.
Tiffany. Come
Yeah,
on, Tiff.
that's real.
yeah, and
That's
I
real.
and I will say though, I can see churches trying. I really can, but I think sometimes they just I don't know. I don't know if it's not quick enough or what, but it's just something where it's like it just needs to get better. But I
And this is
can
what
see
I say.
churches.
I feel like the
Mhm.
churches fail to have a conversation with the people that they're quote unquote trying to help, right? They
Mhm.
approaching it from the married perspective or they're approaching it from the engaged perspective, but they're not sitting down and talking to the singles. Like, what is it that you guys need? What is it that you guys are looking for? What is it that you're interested
True.
in? And let's just be honest, they are the proponents in a lot of cases of this spiritualizing where
Oh yeah.
they will have a conference just for women, just for men. But nah, God forbid we bring y'all together and y'all actually meet somebody that you could potentially date. Like,
That's so
really?
real.
Like, why are we separating our congregations? Like, do you not trust your people that
That's a
much?
good
Like,
point.
y'all giving them the right word every Sunday, right?
Well,
So,
look, people
Yeah.
gonna find a way to sin if they listen. They gonna find a way, whether
right.
they
So
in
it's
the
like,
conference
why
or
would
not.
you?
So
So why remove the
Absolutely.
opportunities for spiritually responsible and just responsible, mature adults from having that
Mhm.
opportunity?
mhm.
Like
Mhm.
that's one thing that I see. So Danielle's giving y'all shout outs. Y'all ladies dropping gems for sure. Yep,
Hey,
do
Thank
better
thank
in the new
you.
year.
you.
And then Portia said, yo, Danielle said, not the bowling audience. Yeah, those. And then we got speak on it, Natalie. Powerful statement coming from Tiffany. Portia
Yes.
says, yes, I was so sick of going to bowling during my single season. It's like the church I used to attend didn't know what to do with singles, which is sad if you ask me. That's real. Once again, Natalie getting props 100% from Monique. Portia, Danielle
Okay,
says that is
yes.
exactly right.
Natalie.
Ebony says, I agree. The deeper issue it may be trust, and we need to pray and examine that. That's
For
real.
sure.
Real.
Yes, absolutely.
Danielle says, OMG, come through with these topics. I'm loving this discussion. Yo, we glad you are loving
Yes.
it. We
Thank you
appreciate you
for
for coming
joining
in.
us.
Ebony says,
Yes.
hey, Jay, don't forget to talk more about choosing signals. Would like to hear more about that later. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We going to have some
Yay.
designated content on
All
that for sure.
right.
I got y'all, ladies, for sure. And then PK says, I fully agree. The church is failing us. There is this idea to keep up the spiritualization of partnership. However, how many truly happy, successful marriages do we see within the church?
To that
And
point,
right.
PK Chronicles, I feel like sometimes the married couples are too overwhelmed with their own issues to give or serve the singles. I'm like, are y'all even happy to be talking about marriage or
That
marriage
part.
preparation? Unfortunately, some put on the facade that they are okay and they got their own stuff they got to deal with.
Mhm.
And they're just busy, especially if you got kids and stuff. I can see how it can be overlooked. So
Yeah.
mhm.
PK
Nah, that's real.
Chronicles.
That's real, ladies. So I'm curious when it comes to this, what do you feel are some of the common ways that dating is spiritualized within the Christian community?
Like,
I think.
oh, go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go ahead, sister.
Okay. I just feel like it's kind of like what I believe it was Monique said. Like we think that we have the rules, and then you try to apply that to your situation, and then when the rules don't necessarily work, you're like, oh my gosh, this isn't God. And you sometimes like you might throw in the whole town, like you just get scared. Like I know I've had that happen to me before, where I'm just
Me
like,
too.
this.
Me too.
I don't think this is God, but I think if I may have pursued it a different way, or maybe just had open conversations, it could have easily been resolved. I don't know. I just think we, especially women, I think that we hear these stories about the guy seeing the woman who was in her purpose, doing her thing. You know, she was on her roof, and then the guy's like, he sees her, and then he wipes her up in 3 months. And I have friends where that's happened, so I know it happens. But we all think that's supposed to be our story, and it's not everyone's story. Like I have another friend where I think her and her boyfriend, they dated for like 7 years and they got married. And people would have been, I think a lot of people probably were like, are y'all really Christian? Because why is it taking so long? You know, so everyone has these rules, and it's like, no, like just let people, as long as it's godly, you know, you're not like enabling sin. And as long as you're using wisdom with the type of people that you entertain, I think that it's okay to just, just entertain someone. But I think the wisdom is the issue. A lot of people got real problems with discernment. So I think that that's why the rules have been created. But I think the rules sometimes can be too stringent. It's like a little web. It's like this. It's like, it's so hard.
It is. Now, Danielle asked a really great question. I want to get your take on this, Natalie. She says, is marriage for singles in the church still as much of a desire as it was for our parents?
I think so.
That is a good question. And yeah, I agree with you, Krista. I do think that it is. I think that the larger cultural narrative, it's not. But I think for women and men in the church, it is still a very strong desire.
And Danielle goes on to say, I feel like millennials have more guards, questions, and concerns when it comes to marriage, when for my parents, that just jump right into it because pastor said it's better to marry than to burn.
Danielle, come through and listen here.
Ooh.
Some people, us millennials, have certain traumas. Like my parents divorced. You think that didn't affect how I saw relationships? It totally did. There's a lot of millennials and Gen Zs that are growing up with single parent homes. Some are not for one reason or another. You know what I'm saying? So that does impact how they look at relationships. And so that's why this trend of people not regarding marriage as sacred or even important anymore is because there's not enough of it. There's not enough of it being promoted. Like, oh, this is healthy. This is something for your benefit. They don't talk about the marriage benefits for men or marriage benefits for women. When really it statistically benefits men more than it does for women. But somehow it's been marketed to women more. It's something that we should want. And we're less of a woman if we're not married by a certain age or if we don't have kids. So it's crazy to me.
Nah, that's real.
I agree with that.
Oh, no, go ahead, Natalie.
Well, just really quick, I agree with that. And I was going to say, I feel like also our generation has seen behind the curtain a little bit and kind of what you were saying earlier. Like, I think sometimes we look and we're like, are you guys really happy? Like, are you actually enjoying the marriages that you are in? And I also think marriage is not as an economic necessity as it was for women.
That's true.
Absolutely.
So I think we're all working.
Yes, we're willing to wait a little bit longer. I think the desire is still there, but I think we have more qualifications on the table for what we're willing to accept in a marriage.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point, Natalie. So then Portia says, good question, Danielle. I think the desire is there, but singles now are trying to be more strategic about who they choose to do life with. They don't want someone that is just quote unquote saved.
That part.
100%.
Yep. And then Tiffany says, years ago, our parents and community were more involved in pairing up singles with good success. And that's right. I feel like there was a more active role of people around you. And I feel like there's a lot more independence when it comes to the approach nowadays to dating and relationships. Most people, if they are seeking outside input into their relationships or what they're doing with regards to dating, it's not really coming from their parents. It's coming from their own peers.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that can be detrimental depending on how your peer is approaching dating as well. Because if you're communing with somebody that spiritualizes dating, then I mean, it's really like the blind leading the blind to a certain extent. So then Danielle said,
that's real.
it goes to your point, PK Chronicles, because we have limited examples of successful marriages. So why would we rush into it? Yes, Natalie, you are saying it faster than I can type it. Yeah, Natalie was dropping gems.
Amen.
And you got some more love, Natalie. Tiffany says that is so true, Natalie. Everyone is spitting so much knowledge. Yeah, y'all are. Daniel says that is good, Portia, because save but only washing your nether regions twice a week ain't gonna work. Not at all. Not at all. Yo,
Oh, she's funny.
yo, too funny. Portia says, love this live, y'all. Yo, we're loving y'all. In the
Love
chat.
it.
Y'all are definitely
You
bringing
guys
it.
are awesome.
Here's what I want to know.
But
No, go ahead, Portia.
real quick, just in regards to like, I mean, my parents are still together, and I genuinely think that they are in love. Which, you know, I've seen couples where they're not, but they're still together. But I was talking to my mom the other day, and you know, she has a very specific type of man that she wants to see me with, and I was like, why don't you pair me up? Don't you got somebody with a son? And she's like, that is not my business, Krista. I'm not about to do that. And I was like, how? Like, and it's just so funny because I've asked her multiple times, like, don't you got some friends with some kids? But she said no. So it was just funny that you guys were saying that because that's real. Like the parents, they be like, listen, that's your business. You do that. And I'm like, why? Help me.
Yes. And I feel that's the narrative a lot of people have taken these days. Like I heard someone say the other day, they're like, people always tell me, oh, I'm praying God find someone for you. And she's like, you find someone, send me a number. I know you have people in your circle. And I feel like we need to get back to that. Stop praying, start sending digits.
Right.
Yeah.
But make sure he's right. Because ain't nothing worse than being set up with a brother where it's like, really, girl, you know we're not compatible. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, to the lady's point in the comments.
And that kind of goes back to the practical piece of it, right? Where you allow other people to get involved in the process. And that kind of speaks to the question that I want to get y'all take on. And I'm going to come to you, Tatiana, with this one, which is, well, first of all, I just want to get a quick yes or no from the ladies here. Do you guys feel like the majority of Christians women's desire is to get married? Like that's ultimately what they desire?
Yes, I would say most of
majority, yeah.
Okay. So this is my question. So if they continue to spiritualize dating, how likely are they to get that result?
With today's men, no, it's not going to happen.
Yes.
You really have to, it's a balance of giving grace as well as being a little more practical with how you approach things like that. Because you have to get to know the human side of that person, tap into what makes that human side of that person want God. You know what I'm saying? Like we all have our how we came to Jesus, right? There's plenty of ways to get to Jesus, only one way to God. But with the relationship part, it's like you want to, as you're getting to know this person, figure out, you know, what are their pain points? What makes them tick? What's their purpose? What they feel led to do? I think those will help you get a better understanding of like what you're getting yourself into when you're in that dating season.
Because there's so many couples that you'll see as like the idea of a godly couple, and then when you're in a relationship and you'll start asking them for advice, they'll tell you about what they went through, and you'll be like, "What?" You know, like you start to realize, oh, they're human too. And I think that a lot of times we don't realize it until too late. And I just wish people would like share that. But I understand protecting your relationship, so it's tough.
Yeah, that's true.
So we had a comment that came in from Danielle. She says, you know why, Krista? Because the church was so involved in matching people and forcing people together so they wouldn't fornicate that it's a store spot for a lot of older people in the church.
Come on.
It says to now have the pressure of finding a mate for their children or other people in general.
Literally, that is my mom, because I have an aunt like that where she was on my cousin's back, and my mom's like, "No, get married when you're 50, then."
Tiffany says parents have stepped back because we have been so dismissive of their selection, and then she also says that we have this tendency to idolize people, and that just reminded me. I don't want to forget to read Tiffany's email, so let me do that, and then I'm gonna come over to Natalie. So this is what Tiffany said, you guys. She sent me this email earlier when she saw that we were going to be talking about spiritualizing dating and how it's keeping Christian women single. She says, Jay, I'm thankful that you are addressing this topic because I don't want other young women to miss the opportunity to be happily married like myself. I was
Mm.
engaged and have been dating my partner for over a year. And when I joined the church, my bishop advised me to break off the relationship, and I did. What amazes
Ooh.
me when I look back is that I wouldn't seek my pastor's advice on any other matters, but when it came to my relationships, I did. No one would know or understand my circumstances best except me and my partner. This is
Oh.
just one example of over spiritualizing relationships that I experienced. I pray that women will take heed, seek God for themselves, and resolve the relationship issues with their partner and an unbiased third party that knows them both, and be realistic.
That's
Thanks for
wisdom.
listening, and you have my permission to share my personal story with the audience on the live stream. Blessings, Tiffany.
Thank you
That
so
So,
was
much,
good.
Tiffany.
Is this
yeah,
Tiffany in the chat? Is that the same
yeah, Tiffany in
Tiffany?
the chat. Yep,
Okay.
Tiffany.
Okay. Awesome.
So, what's your
Yes.
take on that, Natalie?
On her experience.
Yes, and her warning to the young ladies of today.
I appreciate that warning, honestly. And I appreciate the fact
Mhm.
that you also said you're happily, married now and that you desire that for other women. Because I think sometimes with over spiritualizing things, there can be a level of pride where it's like, I'm not going to explore, I'm not going to figure things out until it's the right person or the right one. But I love how you said, and I am happily married and I want that for you too. And I think sometimes when we over spiritualize, we can rob ourselves of really beautiful things. I think we can rob ourselves of the adventure and spontaneity that comes with the dating process.
That's so good.
And someone said
Yes.
idolizing people in the comments. And I completely agree. I think sometimes the longer you're single and the longer you over spiritualize, you create this ideal image in your head of what he's going to look like when he finally knocks on your door in the
Right.
middle of the night. And I know for myself, in seasons of
Not the middle of the
spiritualizing,
night.
or maybe, the
Have your
next
lamps
morning.
trimmed, ladies.
Right. I know that for me, when I've created my list and all this stuff, and I do think it's good to have standards and non-negotiables, but I know when I've had this idea of exactly what he's going to look like, when I've met people like that, I actually have been like, oh, this is not what I thought it would be, or, oh, I'm kind of bored with this person. And I think that dating is about exploring and figuring out, what you want, what you're interested in, also what this person is bringing to the table and how you can see your lives merging. And I think that when we over spiritualize it, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to be surprised and the opportunity to just enjoy the process of getting to know people and having that intimate adventure with other people.
Mhm.
That's real.
That's good
That's
stuff.
real.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Krista, what's your take on what Tiffany shared with us?
Yeah, I think we take away the fun in dating. I think, and I'll be honest, like I became serious about my walk with Christ when I was like 23, 24, and I'm 29 now. So, I would say before this, like this was a whole new way of life to me. Like I was like, oh, so I'm not supposed to date for that long? Oh, wow. Okay. So it seems like it was just supposed to be so quick. And like, it just really was a shock to me. Like, because before, I think also because I have a history of dating like men where I knew I wasn't going to marry them. So like, I was struggling to like, understand like why there's value in that. And I think you got to find a middle. Like, I feel like you need to have fun in dating. Like that's important. And I also feel like we don't give enough excitement to the dating phase, especially when people are actively abstinent. I feel like we're always like, oh girl, we don't need to date long because I ain't trying to be holding off too long. And it's like, and I feel that, I really do. But I also feel like we just need to like, I don't know, just like take life a little, like enjoy life, like I think we don't do that sometimes as Christians. I think we're so obsessed with like, finding that man that we can, what's it called? People always say you want to honor the kingdom together or something. Like you just become so obsessed with it that you don't really like figure out that it's also supposed to be fun. Like I think God wants us to have fun. And that's something that I just think that we need to remember, like with dating,
Definitely.
it's okay. And I think if you take a more lighthearted approach, you won't be so let down. Like
Right.
if you go into something with such high expectations, you're going to be so upset if it doesn't turn out to be your Boaz. But like if he turns out to be like a great brother in Christ, or even just like a cool person that now knows how to do something that you can reference him when you need it, that's exciting too. Like I kind of think about dating how I am with friends. Like I have a friend, honestly, for everything that I need. And I feel like if we treated dating like that, and then you realize I only need one to be like that one person, then I think we would have better experiences. Because I think to some degree, the reason why we get so down has a lot to do with our own mental, as opposed to like actually the situation. Now, sometimes it's some toxic stuff out here that you'd be like, dang, that's really sad. But a lot of times it's like you set yourself up for that. So.
Nah, that's good. That's good. So we had some dope comments come in from Danielle. She had some questions for Tiffany about that pastor. She was like, Tiffany, was your pastor hating and trying to start a sneaky link? He sounds shady. Seriously though, I love you sharing your happiness. We need more of that. And then she was
That's
also
what I was going to say. Did she marry the guy or did she marry someone else?
That's a good question. Tiffany, definitely let us know. So Danielle says, right, Krista, half of us don't even know our hobbies and we worried about a husband.
Oh, girl, preach.
Right.
Like he gonna ask you what you like to do and you're not gonna know how to answer.
Right.
Like
PK says, I think the spiritualization can sometimes be a way of us avoiding the work we need to do on ourselves by expecting God to miraculously give us a perfect partner. Right. And also says, I believe we should share a majority of the qualities we desire in someone else.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially the fruits of the spirit.
So here's my thing. And I want to come to let's see, Tatiana, let's come to you for a second. So on the whole, keeping women single, why do you think spiritualization of dating or spiritualizing dating, why is that keeping Christian women single in particular?
Because I think one of the ladies mentioned it earlier is that we feel like it has to be just this one way. Like even the church kind of made the Ruth and Boaz testimony like a fairy tale. And some of us grew up with the Disney stories and all the other stuff in pop culture. It created this big old ideal of how relationships are supposed to go. So we're thinking like, oh, if we like approach a guy or initiate conversation, we're out of order. Or if we do something that's out of the norm, outside of the Christendom and how they would look at the dating rules, I'm using a lot of air quotes here, but we would be out of order when that's not the case. There's so many unconventional ways that people have gotten together for the kingdom. Like God is not limited. We have to stop limiting him and how he puts people together and why he puts people together and the type of people he puts people together. Like some couples have admitted like, this person wasn't my type at first, but some, and now we're together and they're just doing their thing. So I think sometimes we have to let go of the reins of like, it's supposed to go like this. And otherwise it's not God. Like, how you know?
Come on.
Right.
Come on.
That's real. So Tiffany gave some answers to Danielle's question. She says the pastor felt because she was in the church and he wasn't, that they were unequally yoked.
Like not in their church or not in church in general, because some people are like that too. Like they don't go to our church, therefore they're not equally yoked.
No, my relationship ended, but we really loved each other and regretted letting someone disrupt our lives. And then Portia was saying, yep, stop limiting God. Danielle says, I understand that completely, but the Bible also says a sanctified wife makes a sanctified husband. Some of us are graced for it. Interesting. PK says, unequally yoked. Another scripture may be taken out of context. Pastors included can misuse and abuse the word. I struggle with this as well, so I can sympathize, and said, thanks for sharing. So, yeah.
Thank you, Tiffany.
That's interesting, yeah.
That's tough though, because so she said that we would need to know if he was in church, because I could almost see that as wisdom for someone. I don't know. Don't tell me, you should never tell a grown person what to do, but I could see like you saying him not being in church or assuming that he's not also spending time with God is a problem, because I could definitely understand that. I don't know. That's interesting.
No, that's fair. So here we go. Coming over to you, Natalie. In what ways do you feel like spiritualizing dating keeps women single?
I think that it robs us from, I think when we over spiritualize dating, we just stop taking the risk. And I feel like we kind of stop dating just in general. I feel like we're waiting around. If we see something we don't like, we're immediately crossing that person off of our list. I feel like we stop entering into the risk of actually dating. And something that you said, Tatiana, really struck me, how you said in the church, kind of, we created this fairy tale out of Ruth and Boaz. But it's like Ruth's story was really tragic, actually.
And
like,
no one wants to talk about the end part of that story.
Exactly. And so
wild.
I feel like, you know, we try to create these narratives based off of some of the Bible stories. And when you look at the Bible, even Esther was taken captive to later become queen. Like, we try to insert ourselves into these very limited structures. And instead of just enjoying the process, and instead of going on our own God-given journey, which is really going to look different from everyone else's. And if I could share a quick story about over spiritualizing dating that happened to a friend of mine, but we were kind of both in it. You know, she felt like God had given her a few words about her future spouse while she was still single. And I'm bringing this story up because, Krista, you had shared, you know, sometimes we do see people where it seems like it works for them. Like, they get a word, it ends up being their husband or whatever it may be. And so in this story, like, you know, my friend felt like she got these words during her quiet time about the man that she would marry. And there was this guy at our school that matched each of those things. And we were like, yes, this is him. Like, praise the Lord, you know, open his eyes, Lord, send him. Like, you know, we weren't crazy, but we were kind of like, that's him. Like, we can't wait to see how this is all going to happen. And then, you know, I told you, I'm a work in progress. You know, with time, he got with someone else, and it was kind of like, what? Like, this can't be, you know, the Lord's will. Like, what's going on? But then when she finally released this idea of control, released this idea of having figured it all out, she was interested in someone else. And she ended up dating this other guy, and come to find out everything that God had told her, it lined up with this guy that she's now with and is going to marry. But she had to first release this notion of having control over exactly who it could have been. The other guy seemed to match everything on the list that she felt God had told her about her husband, but he wasn't him. And so I feel like sometimes God can give us words about the people we're going to be, or God can give us spiritual promptings in our dating lives. But I think that can't be the ultimate guide for us. God has to be the guide. Like you said, invite the Holy Spirit on your dates. Like, he will lead you.
I think worked for me.
Yes. I think that we have to let the Lord lead us, and also be practical, like you were saying earlier, Jay, and logical, and actually go through the dating process, meet people, and let God give us discernment in those contexts.
Yes. And is your desire for marriage an obsession? Like, that has a lot to do with it.
Yes.
Like,
I'll be honest,
but that was a funny story.
I appreciate you for sharing that, for sure, Natalie. Yeah, that was definitely helpful. And when I analyze, you know, this whole spiritualizing of dating, the one thing that I'll say, and it kind of goes back to something that you were mentioning earlier, Krista, is that people take the fun out of dating. And I feel like they take the fun out of dating at the one stage where it should be the most fun. You can't make the starting process, the talking to, the getting to know somebody. Why are you so serious? Why are we so serious up front? Like, dang, can like, for real though, can we just have some fun and make a few mistakes along the way? Like, what happened to that? It's like people make it so serious off the rip. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about dating with a purpose, but man, like, that's later down the line. Like, I mean, you ain't gotta be coming out, putting people through the ringer and interrogating them on the first date. Like, dang, can we just have some fun? Can we just see if we vibe together first before we all talking about, well, what's your purpose? Where you going? What's your vision? Where you leading? How many kids you want? Like, yo, going back to what y'all was saying before, yo, can we just bowl? Can we just
it's your turn to throw the ball now.
I had to throw that shot. I had to do it.
That's funny.
Yes.
To that point, Jay,
I listened to sorry.
I was just gonna say real quick that sometimes we feel like it has to be all or nothing. Like, either they're the one or not gonna date at all. Like, let's stop that. Like you said, Jay, sometimes you're not gonna meet the the one on date number one or something like that. You might have to date a few people so you can get more used to it, engaging with the opposite sex more. God is doing a work on the inside of all of us in the dating season too. So let him process you. Stop trying to like make it like, stop trying to take the wheel from him. Like let him do it.
Yes, and like, and check yourself. Like, do you have, because I think a lot of times when we're like, oh, after, if this doesn't work, I'm done. Like that is not how everyone first starts dating. If you think about when you first started dating, you were literally like so glowy eyed and excited. And now you're like, if he's not it, God, I'm done. You know, like it's because you've gotten broke down a little bit. So like check to see if that brokenness is something that need. Yeah, like check on that brokenness. Is it like, you know, I've grown and I've learned discernment, or is it like, no, I've grown and I've like learned fear and like scaredness is at the word for it. But
that's good.
Yeah, so
that's good stuff.
Because that's not normal to talk like that.
Tanisha was pointing this out. The new term Christians are using is purpose partner.
I've seen that too.
That's real. Like, yo, why are you looking for a quote unquote purpose partner on date number 1, 2? Like, yo, can y'all just have fun? Like, I mean, I get it. Purpose is important, but yo, can we just get to know each other and just have a good time? And that's
because
where
when
I was
you're
saying, no, go ahead, Krista.
I'm so sorry. I feel like I didn't cut all y'all off tonight. But when you're like in the moment, unless someone is leading you away from Christ, like have fun. Now, if he's like, listen, I got some blunts outside, I got a bunch of alcohol, then you be like, now listen, I gotta go home. But like if it's just like, let's bowl, go bowl, go get some food. Like it shouldn't have to be that deep. Now, if you go on 20 dates and he's still trying not to have nothing serious, well then maybe y'all need to have a conversation. But first date, like just relax. I listen to Ashley Empowers a lot. Yes. Ashley Empowers is really good though. If anyone in the chat hasn't heard of her, she talks a lot about that and just like how to like, she's big on intentional dating, but she's also very like chill. Like that's so important. Like
Nah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. And you know, before we push on from this topic, the one thing that I'll say is it's so important for Christian women in particular to recognize that you are going to have to be an active participant in the dating process. Like waiting for somebody to just drop out of the sky, come knock on your door and find you. Please stop relying on that scripture and let's bring it up just as a reminder. Like, don't get stuck on Proverbs 18:22. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtain favor from the Lord. Well, finding a wife, like you're not a wife. You're kind of like a hermit. You're just in the house. You're not having fun. You're a bore. You're not really exciting. Why would he be attracted to you if you're not out and about? That doesn't mean that you have to be out there, but please live your life. Like Danielle was mentioning earlier, have some hobbies. Like be having fun in your own life, man. Allow a man to meet you, like I was saying, along your life. Don't just expect him to just drop out of the sky and just be like, oh man, he found me. Like, nah, you have to be an active participant in the dating process. Recognize that. Like, don't be lazy. Don't be lazy. Like,
can I add something, Jay, real quick?
Always. What's up?
To that point, I forgot this. I need to share this more often, but I wanted to share like just like a free resource. I have an ebook for people on 25 ways to date yourself. So for ladies who want to get out there, you need to practice. And maybe before you embarrass yourself or whatever with a guy, try taking yourself out on a date. See what it's like to go out in public again. I know, like, depending on where you live, things might be a little weird due to the pandemic, but you can take yourself out on a date. Before the pandemic, I actually took myself out on a date, and that's how I met new people. That's literally how I got to meet new people. And so you never know. You don't necessarily have to wait for a date in order to go out and treat yourself well. Create that situation for yourself. Take God with you. Take a journal. Be in tune with the present. As Jay mentions all the time, be aware.
Right.
Be aware because you never know. Someone might be at the bookstore, the coffee shop, the speakeasy, the restaurant with the tapas. You never know. So I'm gonna send Jay the link. I'm gonna send Jay the link with the ebook so people can download it.
Yeah, I'll make sure I add
Yeah,
it
I need to
to
download that
the
too.
link for sure. I mean, to the description. And Portia said, I think it's also important to realize God doesn't speak to everyone the same way.
Come
That
Everyone
part.
on.
doesn't get a whisper or a tap on the shoulder from God. Some people just use the wisdom and understanding He gifted you with to help make decisions with dating. Right. And I think
Yes, come on.
that's another part of the whole spiritualizing dating is you got to take the lead. Stop expecting Jesus or God to take the driver's seat and you in the passenger. No, you get in the driver's seat of your own dating experience. And as you guys have
Hmm.
mentioned throughout our discussion, allow the Holy Spirit to lead you and guide you like a GPS to a certain
Yes.
extent.
Yes.
But guess
Yes.
what? A GPS doesn't work unless you program something into it, right? That's the
Hmm.
whole point. It doesn't just, you don't just hop in the car and it know where you want to go. That's what a lot
Hmm.
of people approach it from. Is like God just gonna lead me there, or the Holy Spirit just gonna lead me there. No, you have to take the initiative. You have to take the first step, and then things will be revealed to you along the process. Those red flags, those yellow and green lights that we were talking about earlier, to let you know whether or not this person aligns with you spiritually. That's when that
Yes.
stuff should kick in, not at the very beginning where you're like, well, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna wait. Well, guess what? You'll probably be waiting forever. And something that
Yes.
Portia had said earlier, let me see if I can find it. This right here. There will be no shining light from heaven that says he's the one.
Come on,
Right.
Portia. As much as
I
we
just did.
want
100%.
that, because again, like Natalie said, that would make life so much easier. If we just all knew what
It
the end
would.
result of life was going to be, how many kids we end up having, are we going to have kids? Are they ever going to do anything? You know, we just have to really, really just trust God in these situations. This
That's
is not
real.
any different.
That's real. Yo, this has been good. Yo.
Yes.
So, ladies, I
This has been
recognize
good.
it's 9. So do you guys want to wrap up here? Or do you want to dive into the third topic? I'm gonna leave it up to y'all.
I mean, it's 8 where I am.
It's it where I am
So
too. I'm good
I
either
got a
way.
little more time. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
fine.
Tatiana, what about you?
Yeah, it's fine. We got maybe 30 more minutes.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. We can definitely
Okay.
dive into it. So before we do, want to hand it over to Krista. Definitely let everybody know about your podcast where they can check you out.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, what are you what? Yes, guys. If you would like, I have a podcast called 20 something and living. It's literally 20
Love that.
something and ampersand living. So it's like me and one of my best friends, and we just have a ball and we talk, we discuss hot topics in the world. We also discuss like issues that you deal with in your 20s, like dating, anxiety, work stresses, all of it. And then we always end it with Godspiration, with that I do. So yes, a little Godspiration for your week. So we just had a new episode drop last week, and it drops every other Tuesday. So subscribe, leave us a review, and we'll love you. Yes.
Yeah.
There y'all go. I dropped that link. Hopefully it went through. If not, I'll make sure it's definitely in the description when we wrap up our live stream. But let's get into
Yes.
our third topic of the night. This is going to be another good one, y'all, which is how you meet your spouse does not matter. So I just want to get the temperature of the room, starting with you, Natalie. Do you think it matters how you meet your future husband?
I don't think so. If I'm understanding the question correctly, I don't think that it matters how you meet, because I think usually how you start is not how you end. And I know a lot of people will often say how things start is how thing ends, but I think when it comes to how you meet someone, where they're at in life, things are going to change, they're going to evolve, they're going to grow. So I don't think it matters how you meet.
All right, that's fair. What about you, Krista?
Oh, thank you, Portia girl. Yes, leave us a review as well. But yeah, I don't think it matters. I mean, of course, like I always wanted to like meet my husband at work, and then I found out that he went to the same college as me, and we like have a lot of the same mutual friends, and then we end up falling in love. But that I don't think that's gonna happen. But you know, that's what I always wanted. But no, it literally doesn't matter. I feel like, I mean, as long as you get there, it doesn't matter how you got there.
And Tatiana, what about you?
Yeah, I think there's so many ways that people have met and got together that people will be like, what? How did that happen? Like I know married couples who are still together that met at the club. There's some people that met under all kind of circumstances. So I wouldn't put it past them. Like God can do anything with anybody. Like, you know how
Mhm.
we all started. We all had different journeys of how we got saved and how we lived our life, So I think he do
That's
the
good.
same for relationships.
Yeah. And I'm in agreement with you. I don't think that the way I meet my future wife is going to matter. Like, as long as our paths cross and we both were aware, going back to that again, both of us were aware that we were present and we wanted to move forward, get to know one another, and things progress
Hmm.
from there, then I feel like that's what matters the most is not missing out on opportunity.
Mhm.
That's the one thing that I would say. It's about making sure you don't miss out on meeting that person that could potentially be
Right.
your future spouse more so than it matters how you met them. At least that's my personal perspective on that. But
Mhm.
coming to you though, Natalie, why do you think some people feel like you have to meet your spouse, or in your case as a woman, you have to meet your future husband in a certain type of environment or a certain type of way?
I think it goes back to the fairy tale that we can often create and idolize and idealize in our minds. And I think, like, Krista, you said you wanted to meet yours at work. Mine is I want to meet them at a coffee shop because I'm always at coffee shops.
Ah,
And so I
that
think we
would be
can have
cute.
these, we can have these stories we create where it's like, oh my gosh, this would be so beautiful, so fun. But rarely, does life work exactly as we want it to. But I think that especially the older we get, the longer we're single, we have more time to kind of fantasize about what we would love to happen. And I think sometimes that can get in the way of actually what does happen.
Mm,
Great point.
yeah, or
What's your
you
take,
can.
Krista?
No, I was like 100%, because you can obsess over it. Like I know for me, I have a lot of friends that I met. Like I guess I hate saying before Christ days, but I guess before Christ days. And so when I tell them I met a guy at church, they're like, "Oh my gosh," like their face is like, "Oh, I think he's the one," and I start to be like, "Oh, maybe he is the one," and then I get all excited, and then when he's not the one, I'm like, "Dang." So I think it's not good. But I think that's why we do it, because it's like certain stories just sound super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially church. I think people tell you that you will meet a godly man at church,
Yeah.
which
And I
not
mean, I think
necessarily.
I think
So,
people will put so much emphasis on that being so great is because of how rare it is to actually do that. Like I mean, like meeting a man
Oh.
at church is something that is not really that probable for a lot of women, if we being honest. Like
I'll be
now
there,
why
right
do
there's a
you
back,
lot
think
more
that?
guys.
women in the church than men. So what was your
So
question, Krista?
So why do you say that it's not probable to meet women at church or
yeah,
men
I'm
at church?
interested to hear that as well.
Yeah, I say it because of the numbers. That's what I'm basing it on. Is the fact that
Mm,
the likelihood of you meeting a man at church is not going to be as great because it's not a large number of men that are going to be in your congregation, one, and then secondly, that are going to fit your criteria of what you're interested in a man. And then
yeah.
secondly, that is also a single man that also
Right.
is interested in you. Like you see how that
Yeah.
number is just starting to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's the only
Yeah.
reason why I say that when it happens, I can see why people romanticize it because it's like, oh man, like you found a diamond in the rough, like you found something that was almost impossible to find, because that's not
See,
really common for a lot of people.
that's interesting, because I actually have a fair amount of friends who have met either at church or like through church events that is through another church,
Hmm.
and like, and so that's interesting that that's your experience. Mine's like the total opposite. Like my friends in Cleveland are literally like, "Girl, just start going to that young adult stuff. You gonna find your man." Like, because that's how all of them found their guys. So this
Yeah.
is interesting.
But
Yeah,
let's be honest too, though, they're biased because you're saying that
yeah,
that's the
they
way
are.
it happened for them. People are always
Yeah.
going to be biased if it's the way that it worked for them. Anybody,
Mm-hmm.
like if something worked for you, you're going to be like, yo, you should try that out. But
Mm-hmm.
you're,
Yeah.
you're basing it off of your own experience. Like,
Mm-hmm.
of course, excuse me, I hit the mic. But it's like, of course, that is something that you would encourage somebody else to do because it worked for you. I get it, but they're
Right.
basing it off of their own experience. They're not just basing it
Mm-hmm.
off of being objective and looking at the entire lay of the land. And that's the only point that I'm
Mm-hmm.
making is I'm not
Mm-hmm.
looking at it from a biased perspective of that's what worked for me, but just looking
Mm-hmm.
at as a whole.
The
And
numbers.
I'm not
Yeah.
alone. Check out these comments here. So Tiffany says, yes, we want that fairy tale. PK says, I fully agree with Jay. Tanisha says, Portia says, I feel like a lot of men who are in church go outside of church to date. Speak on that. That's fact.
100%. Yeah.
And she says, unless they have their eye on someone in the church. And then Tanisha says she agreed. And I think that right there is also something that needs to be talked about. Is
Oh yeah.
there are a lot more women in the church who are looking for men in the church versus men in the church are not just looking for women in the church.
Yeah.
No, they're not. They're not.
Yeah,
And I think that
absolutely.
that
And
is. Mhm.
oh no, I was gonna say I also feel like the outside of church was a good point, because I think a lot of people, a lot of men are like, yeah, I'm good on these church girls, or they might take the newbie. I think they like the newbies too, but other than that, they'd be like, I'm going outside the church.
I get you. I got a comment from Danielle I want to share before. I want to make this point.
Yes.
It's not so much the woman, whether she's a newbie or anything. This is one of those reasons why I feel like, going back to our previous discussion, is the spiritualizing of dating keeps women single as opposed to men, and more particular Christian women, because for the men, it's not about what woman in the church. It's like, no, why am I limiting my pool to just women that are in the church? That makes no sense. Like, there
Oh.
are way more women outside of the church that I have the potential of meeting. And that's the reason why men are more prone to date women outside the church. It's not because, oh, the women outside of the church are better. No, it's just the pool of women is a
Oh.
lot larger. I have the pool
Yeah.
outside and inside. But I feel like a lot of Christian women tend to limit themselves to, I'm just searching for men that are in this
In
one
the
pool.
church. Yeah.
Even if it's not just your church, if you're like, I'm just looking for a man that's in church or that goes to church, once again, you killing
Yeah.
your pool. But I have a
Yeah.
very different stance when it comes to like the whole dating somebody that isn't a Christian, is a Christian. Like, I feel like for dating in particular, women totally kill their dating pool when they say, I'm not dating a man unless he's a Christian. It's a total difference from not marrying a man who's a Christian. But when you say, I'm not even going to date, I'm not even going to go out and have fun, I'm not even going to get to know the character of this man just because he doesn't align with your religious beliefs. Once again, you are cutting yourself off at the knees and reducing the pool of men that you have to choose from. Just because you date
It's
somebody, get
interesting.
to know somebody, hang out with somebody, doesn't mean you're going to marry them. That's one of the ways that you are able to enhance your experience and get to know what things you do like, what things you don't like. Once again, I say it's not about marrying the person, but I feel like that's another place that some women tend to limit themselves. But that's just my opinion. But
Yeah.
now,
And I
That's
Danielle,
but
Krista had this
and
point.
I think that it's okay. Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. And I think it's okay to do that, like to date casually, because that's kind of what it sounds like you're saying. I want to caution women, like, make sure you can
Mhm.
handle that before you do that. Like, because
Right.
I've been the girl who thought I could do it and I can't. So
That's
yeah.
real. That's real. You definitely have to
Yeah.
know what you're doing, how serious it is. But once again,
Yeah.
it's about how you define it again and what level of
Hmm.
investment you're making too, right? Because if you're investing
Yeah.
all of your feelings, all of your intentions in this person, then clearly you're making an investment and you want to make sure that you're making an investment in the type of man that you do see yourself marrying down the line. If that's the
Hmm.
regard, then by all means, if you only want to marry a man that's Christian, then you need to make sure that before you make those level investments, the man checks that box. But if you,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, Krista, you have the ability to understand that, hey, like, I'm just having fun. I'm just getting to know this guy. I'm just hanging out. That's really all it is. It's like, it's not being a major investment or commitment at this point in the dating or the talking or whatever it is. Then you can go out there and have more experiences and open that door a little bit more and increase the
Yeah.
pool. But nah, this is what Danielle
Yeah.
said
I
to
think if
you,
you can handle
Krista.
it, it's very smart.
Yeah. She said,
Yes. I did go to
Krista,
a mega
you go
church.
to one of the mega churches. I'm coming because I tell you what, the little churches don't have a selection worth going after. Missionary Susie trying to hook you
Yeah.
up with her nephew that just got out.
Whoa.
And
I
David,
don't
that's
know
just
if I
like,
yeah, it's like I don't know if I'm weird, but I know a fair amount of like genuine godly men. I don't know
yeah,
if that's like rare, but I don't know. So,
And they're
nah,
single and emotionally available, Krista?
so some of them are. Yeah, like I mean, I will say a lot of them are in relationships, but some of them are, and like
Oh, okay.
like I don't know. It's not crazy to me to see a godly man who's worth dating. It's not crazy to me. That I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I be
Mm-hmm.
feeling like I'm the minority the way people be talking, like the pool is out here. So I don't know.
yeah. Tanisha says, that she's been to a mega church too, and the pickings are slim there too. The bigger the church, I have seen guys playing and dating multiple women at the church. Yeah, that's real.
No.
Tiffany says, Jay,
Yeah,
you are
that
sparing the
probably happens.
inside game to dating. Thank you. Yeah, I know. Some people will catch the gems, Tiffany.
He said, I know.
Danielle says, Tiffany says, Danielle,
That's-
I'm trying. Don't have a selection worth going after. Facts. Got to have decent options. That's real. PK says, very interesting perspective, Jay. Most definitely. I know it's not one that's held by the masses. Not at all. Tanisha says, most of the men in the small churches are already married. Monique says, sporting events would have a lot of men. They would.
Boom.
They would.
Yeah.
Step outside your comfort zone. Tanisha, Tiffany says, you are so right. The guy will have be dating 2 or more women at the same time. That's real.
Nice.
Portia says, I agree with Jay, but most women in church won't date someone who is not hot and on fire for God and a prayer. That's real. Like I said, it just boils down, and this isn't throwing no shade. It's just they limit their pool of people to choose from. And it's like, as long as you are okay with doing that, by all means. But I'm just saying that you can't at the same time be like, there's not any men out here. Where are all the men? Like, no, it's because you have limited and restricted the type of men that you interact with. Personal choice all the way.
Yeah.
They says,
I'm the
we
person
need
who's
Danielle on
okay
the
limiting
panel.
that.
Yes, we do need Danielle on the panel. One of these days, Danielle, you let me know when you're ready. We'll have you on here. Portia says, it's rare, Krista. And Danielle says, I get kicked off. No, you wouldn't get kicked off. I promise. I promise you wouldn't get kicked off. Not at all.
Danielle would be good. She'd be good.
That happen for sure. But nah, so let's hear from you, Natalie. What's your take on some of the things that we've been talking about thus far before we wrap up tonight?
Yes, because I saw your facial expression. You look like you had some things to say.
Well, I think I was processing because I haven't heard that perspective a lot of be willing to date somebody that's not a Christian if you're a Christian. So I think I've just been thinking about that. And I guess my question to you would be, because I do see what you're saying about, stop making it so serious at the beginning, have fun and get to know people. I guess where I have a question is, if my end goal and my end hope is marriage, shouldn't I start with someone that I could see myself at the finish line with?
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? I feel like a person has to be open the whole way, right? I get it that a person this is the one thing, right? People may have one thing in mind to get to the end zone, right? Y'all know, y'all mentioned earlier, I think it was you, Tatiana, where you said people will have envisioned this certain type of person that they'll marry. And then when they get married, they're like, yo, that person didn't fit my type. They wasn't really what I liked. And I feel like the same thing can happen in that regard. I'm not advocating for it, but if a person isn't willing to accept that, hey, you may meet a person that has really good character and that there may be some things that may be different. And in this case, you may be a Christian, they're not. And then that's a whole nother conversation. But it's like, if you meet a man who's genuinely a good man, like a good man, has good character, are you closing the door on him just because he's not a Christian at that point in time? And for a lot of women, the answer would be yes. But then my question would have to be, what's the priority? Is it you're only trying to date a Christian, or are you trying to find a husband who matches the life that you want?
See, that's why I like talking to Jay, because he be hitting you with some different stuff. He'd be like, what?
Right.
Like, wait, say that again. I like that.
Yeah, definitely food for thought.
Hey, I just want to give women something to think about, right? I'm not here to tell people what they should do, but the one thing that I will do is I will provide a different perspective to at least give you that pause to say, what he just say? And I want you to really think about it. Don't make a decision just because I said something, but just think about that. What is really the end goal? What is it really that you prioritize? What is it that you ultimately want in a husband? Because y'all know I've said it before, especially those of you who listen to the podcast. Just because a man has the label Christian, don't make him a good man.
That part.
Is the label more important, or is the man's character and what he brings, quote unquote, to the table? Now, let's be honest. If he's not a Christian and you are, there will be some things that he isn't bringing to the table with regards to the spiritual side. I will be the first to acknowledge that, right? But once again, even with marriage, we have to understand that you have to keep things in real life, right? You have to keep things logical, and you have to keep things practical. Because marriage, the institution, is going to be what? It's going to be practical long before you get to the spiritual piece. You and a man can be entwined spiritually all day, but if y'all lacking on the practical piece, like that marriage is just doomed to fail at some point. We know that spiritually y'all can push through, but if both or one of y'all are unwilling to see that, hold on, there's a practical piece to this puzzle. We also have to operate in real life as well. If the person just has the label, but the inability to also function in real life, then you have to question, is that really the type of man that you want to be your husband?
That's real.
It is real. It's interesting. I always enjoy hearing your perspectives, but I also feel like you
be asking me them questions. Like, Krista, you already know we had conversations. She was like, "Yo, so would you date her if she's this and that?" And you know what I told you, right?
No, I had said, "Would you date someone who's this?" Yes, and then we were going on through it. I had to get as he was going to marry her.
Really?
And he was
like, "Yeah," because it's different.
I was like, "Now, why you play me like that?"
And that's the thing. Like, I'm not afraid to stand on my square. It's my choice, right? And everybody has to make their own choice. And the one thing that we got to recognize is that the character of a person is really what we should be after. I think that how they relate spiritually, that's vitally important too. But we can't ignore the character of a man or a woman. And disqualifying somebody just because they doesn't check a box at that point in time. This is the thing. At some point, many people didn't believe or weren't a Christian. At some point, they got that label, right? So the question isn't, and by no means, I want to put this out there. I'm not advocating missionary dating. I'm not trying to say that, you should be trying to save them. Not at all.
Please don't.
But I feel like you got to recognize the fact that if you are a woman of God, speaking to women, right? We talked about it last week. Influence. If that man allows you to have an influence on his life, I promise you, you will have a spiritual impact. And my question is, if a man moves and operates in his actions, in his characters, the way that a man that is supposed to be wearing the Christian label moves and operates, how important is it if he doesn't or does have the label? That's all I'm saying. Would you rather have a Christian man that he has the label, but he's not really acting the way you would expect or want or desire him to act, versus a man who is bringing all of that to the table, but he just doesn't have the label? Just something to think about, not a decision to make in this moment. But now we have some chat questions. Let me bring these in, and then we'll rock. So let's see. Where's the last one? Okay, so Portia says, I agree with Jay. Most women in the church. I did that one already. Okay, Danielle says, yes, I agree with you, Jay. I think dating and building relationships with people in general teaches you more about yourself and enforces your belief system. We don't question being friends with unsafe people. Right.
Some people do, but
yeah, some people do. Some people do. That's fair.
Some people do.
So then Portia says, they need a lot to process, Jay. Yeah. So then PK says, Jay is saying something key. I think it definitely is important for us to be clear on how we define the parameters of a Christian. Right. See, if you're just saying the label, that is where I would say, let's talk and let's sit down and talk about this a little bit more, because you want to make sure that the person doesn't just wear the label, but they are actually exuding the character and the actions that you believe should be matching that label. And I'm saying that if all you are prioritizing is the label versus a man that is bringing all of those actions and all of that character to the table, but he is missing the label, that's what I'm saying that a person should pause and think or give some consideration to. So then Portia says, facts. No, go ahead, Krista.
Oh, no, because I think it was last week where I had shared that, like, that I had dated a guy, like, he would have been, I would want to marry him. Like, if it wasn't for him being a Christian. But I don't regret that choice, just because I think for me, this is just me, because everyone's different. And I've seen like literally interfaith couples work, but I know for me, it's like, I know I need someone when we get down to like the ladder and it's like, we have no other thing to do but pray. Like, I need somebody who understands the value in that and who can kind of lift me up and keep me spiritually strong when I'm not. And I think it really just comes down to like knowing yourself, which makes me think you should be dating yourself, because if you spend time with yourself and even date how Jay is saying today, it will let you know if you can and cannot handle certain things. Because like I know with that one particular guy, like I think that was the right thing to do for me and him. But that's interesting.
And I also just want to just point something out. When I say that person doesn't have the Christian label, I'm not saying that person doesn't believe in God. I'm not saying that person is an atheist. I think that's one of the things that we also get confused is there are a lot of people who believe in the Bible, believe in the God of the Bible, and they live by that text, but they don't carry the Christian label. So that's the reason why I said, if this person is respecting, honoring the text of the Bible, but they just don't carry that label, are you throwing them away too just because the label isn't something that they choose to ascribe to themselves? So I just wanted to give that context. I'm not saying that it's somebody that doesn't believe in God or saying that God doesn't exist or somebody that's unwilling to pray with you or to respect your spiritual belief or label. That's not what I'm saying at all. Not what I just want to clarify that.
Oh,
Portia says,
I think I thought that's what you were saying.
What's that?
Oh no, I said that was good because I thought that's what you were saying.
Okay, yeah. I'm glad I cleared that up because that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. So Portia says, facts. The labels isn't that important because there's a whole lot of wolves in sheep clothing out here. It's the character for me, work ethic, and personal relationship with God. That's real.
Yeah.
So PK says, I'm with you, Jay, on this. PK says, I know a lot of women that have gotten hurt tremendously by quote unquote church men. Yeah, that's real. Monique says, spiritual side is big for me. For what I want, I need him to have that. He don't have to be a pastor or anything, just someone whose goal is trying to become better in all aspects. That's real. PK says, listen, let's keep it real. These Christian men and women can't discriminate, can be just as bad as the nuns. That's facts. That's facts.
Absolutely.
Tanisha says, I dated a church wolf before. He was worse than the worldly guys who were lukewarm. Tiffany says, church men have hurt me more than a man with character that weren't Christians. Tanisha says, yes, Tiffany. Portia says,
these comments are making me sad.
Making you sad? Why?
They're making me a little sad. It's like, dang. Like
this is why we have these conversations. That's the purpose of this show, is because we can't have rose-colored glasses. We have to address things for reality. I told you those three things: reality, logic, and practicality. To think that just because somebody wears a particular label that they have everything together, that's not reality. That's not reality, y'all. And that's what we have to bring to the table and let people know, regardless of the decisions that you make, we want you to make well-informed decisions. That is my goal here. I want women, especially women of faith, to be equipped when you hit the dating scene. Don't just give this guy a pass just because he told you he go to church and he's a Christian. No, analyze him the same way that you would any other man.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just struggled to. I guess I just naturally knew that. I mean, that's the same thing as a doctor. Just because he got a medical degree don't mean I'm going to go to him. I got to make sure his references are right. You know, so I mean, it's kind of. I guess I didn't. I forget that like everyone doesn't naturally think to do that because like it's Christian. So I mean, Christians literally there are some Christians who sit in the back of the pew, go every single Sunday, and have never connected with God. Like literally do not pray.
Right.
So it's kind of hard for me to understand that, but I feel you. I feel you.
So Portia says, check them fruits. You can have that label, but rotten fruits that's all dried up. Tiffany says they live by the Bible principles, but without the labels. Yeah, there are people like that. Portia says, I personally believe in relationship with Jesus Christ, not religion. So I understood the label thing because I don't identify as a Christian. That's real.
Okay.
PK says, truly it is spirituality versus religiosity. Yeah, there's definitely a part of that. Portia says, although I was raised in a Pentecostal church, right? Tiffany says, our realities are different, and that is what shapes our perspective, right? And then Tiffany says, yes, 100%. Portia, we must check the fruit. Most definitely.
Yeah.
So before we wrap, we want to come over to you, Natalie. What's your take? What's your thoughts on the things that we've been addressing? Did you have any other questions for me about some of the things that I shared? If so, just let me know.
I think, no, this was good. I think this was definitely food for thought for me. Like, it's definitely challenged me in a different way. Because I kind of agree with Krista. Like, I'm the same. Like, just because you say you're a Christian, I'm not buying it. Like, I need to see the fruit. Like, you know, it says by their fruit you will know them. So I think for me, like, relationship with Jesus Christ is very important to me. And like you're saying, Chris, at the end of the day, like, if it comes down to it, I need us both on our knees praying if when those situations arise. But I've never considered dating someone that was not a Christian before. So this is just, it's challenging me, and I'm just processing that and thinking through it. So I appreciate your perspective.
Nah, and I appreciate you, Natalie, for even being open to listening, right? Because my thing isn't to try to shape or change anybody's perspective.
Right.
At the most, if it is a different perspective that I'm bringing to the table, I would just want people to acknowledge that, hey, that's different, and then make your own decision as to whether or not you receive or reject it, and that's fair.
Mhm.
That's all. That's all I say is make that choice. I don't ever
Mhm.
want to be the one dictating the choices that other people make. And I don't think that that's what God desires either. That's where free will comes into it. And we all have the right to make our own choices. And before we wrap up, Tatiana, what's your take on what we've been talking about just now?
Yeah, it's definitely been thought provoking. It had me thinking over here, like, oh, the wheels are turning over here. But yeah, we definitely want to look at character. Character is, it shows so much about the person and their consistency. And like I tell everybody, like, take your time, getting to know someone. There's no rush. You don't feel like you have to rush into a commitment like marriage out of the blue because you're a believer. Yeah, there might be some things into play like age or your health that you want to consider. But if you want to get married, make sure you look out for people who want the same things, who and what they value about that. Get to know their values. Those core values are important. And that's something that I learned from my church. And it's practical as well as spiritual. So you don't have to like over spiritualize it. You can get to know that person and what they're about. And maybe they could tell you about their spiritual journey and how, where they're at with God or what they think about God, or do they believe or follow Jesus? Take your time with that. I definitely dated someone who was Catholic, even though we didn't necessarily agree on like the same foundation when it comes to faith. I thought that it was interesting getting to know him. He had a different perspective on stuff, but you know, I think it's just cool get to know people. At the same time, be aware of your standards and where you're trying to go. You don't want to waste your time, but you want to have a good time at the same time. It's a fine line.
That is a fine line. That's good.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yo, shout out to everybody that joined us tonight. We are so grateful. It was fun. Before we go, Krista, do you have any last or closing words you want to leave everybody with?
Yeah. I learned a little. I learned a lot. But you know what? As Tatiana was talking, so I was raised Catholic. And I never saw that as like I denounced a faith and picked up another faith. But I've had friends talk to me in a way where they're like, so what happened? Tell me about your story. And I'm like, what story? I just went to a different church, so everyone it's now that you guys are talking, I understand what you're saying more so now, like where it's like, just be a little more open-minded, because there's also Christians who aren't Bible front to back believing Christians. Also, there are a lot of Christians who believe in the Old Testament only or the New Testament only. So that's important too.
Yeah.
But I would say, I don't know, I really enjoyed this. I would say that, yeah, like I like what we said, just have fun. But like Tatiana said, find that fine line, but also pay attention to red flags. I don't want people to be so obsessed with having fun and that they don't remember like that, you don't be dumb, basically. So that's all I wanted to say. Yeah.
Nah, that's good. Yo, ladies, I have definitely enjoyed having all of you on here tonight. It has been a fun one. I've learned from you guys. I hope you guys have learned and taken some things away from one another. The chat was on fire tonight. Shout out to everybody who was in there. We appreciate you guys. I hope you'll join us again next Tuesday. But with that being said, good
Yes.
night, and we'll catch you guys next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for another Right to Real Love live show.
Bye.
Until then, we'll catch y'all.